Hey everybody, it's Masters of Dungeons again, and we're starting a new campaign, yet unnamed. This will be session 1, and if my players would have the kindness of introducing themselves.
My name is Logan, and I'll be playing Kriv the Pale, the red Dragonborn paladin of Bahamut.
I'm Ryan. I'm playing Emrys Silverflute, the High Elf Bard.
Hey, I'm Molly, and tonight I'll be playing Donovan Brigham, a ranger. He's also human.
Okay, and without further ado, let's get started. So, Krivnarin Val Raxanov. Close enough. You start in this kind of a limbo, this black darkness that's strangely comforting, even though nothing is happening. It's a welcome change from the tempest that kind of rages inside you. And as you kind of drift in and out of this never-ending darkness, far in the distance, you see this silver light that's, but a dot. But as time passes, it becomes closer and closer until it overflows you, as if you're drowning in this silver light. And then suddenly, before you are thrown into the physical world, and you're covered in this kind of sweat, this liquid, and as you're kind of gathering yourself, you look down and you're in this grayish tunic, and you look around and you see this room that's immaculately lit with this silver light, and it's perfectly lit. It's every angle is perfectly lit, and you see these motifs of dragons and murals of war and conquest, and before you stands this very tall, platinum dragonborn who's adorned in these silver robes and is writing in this huge ledger. And he kind of looks to you and he says, Krivnarin Valroyanov. Welcome back. How do you feel?
My bones, they ache.
In time, that will pass. But I hope you've enjoyed your rest, for there is much work to be done. And please, if you would come with me. And he kind of gestures you to follow him. And so as you guys kind of are walking, you're going down this grand hallway, filled again with more murals and sculptures and illuminated in the same white light. And you notice that this scribe kind of keeps walking and is ever looking down, writing in this huge ledger. And he kind of like looks to you kind of with a sideways glance. It's like, oh, how rude of me. I forgot to introduce myself. I am Seratimonius, scribe of Bahamut.
Spare me the pleasantries.
Right to the point then. Well, Kriv, it seems that the world has changed months since you've left it, but let me show you. And you go and you open this really big door, and before you is this control center of sorts. You see various Dragonborns hustling about with these projections of images of items, of people, of cities, of places. And you notice that all of these Dragonborn seem incredibly tired and sluggish, and their every move is as if they're moving through liquid lead. And upon the doors opening, they kind of stiffen up and pretend like, all is well, but it's no secret that these men are overworked and overburdened. And at the sight of this, the tall Dragonborn kind of grimly nods, but then kind of points his way towards the biggest projection of all, which is essentially a map of the continent where the Avinti theocracy is located. And he kind of gestures you like, come with me, and you go into the the big map, and he says, Tell me, Kriv, as you gaze upon the world you once knew, what do you see? And kind of before you is, you kind of see these little instances of people's lives, and you see kind of all of these atrocious acts. You see, fathers drinking away their sons' inheritances. You see mothers abandoning children. You see vagabonds murdering people in the street for their meager gold and money, and just other various wicked acts and atrocities that are kind of befallen these normal everyday people. So how do you respond to the scribe?
I see that the fingerprints of the evil one still remain.
Unfortunately, you are quite right, Kriv. You see, although she was defeated many years ago, her influence was not completely eradicated. The people have begun to fear more than they believe, and fear is the enemy of faith. And as their fear grows, as this corruption spreads, their faith in Bahamut erodes. He kind of takes a deep breath and kind of reflects on this. That's where you come in, Kriv. You see, the people have been calling out for Bahamut to save them, and he has chosen you to be the answer for their prayers.
Now, you know as much as I do that when I am summoned, there is little that can be done to save what remains.
I think there's a misunderstanding, Kriv. You see, when I say save the people, I don't mean save them from their own corruption. We know, I've read your file, I know that this is not exactly your forte. We were thinking something a little bit more up your alley. You see, these acts of evil and wickedness, they are but a symptom of a greater evil, much as you astutely pointed out, that corruption still remains and festers. Although we do not know much, there is something that we find quite odd. And he kind of like points to a section on the map, and as you look at the map, it's very clear around the capital, but kind of as you spread out, the vision of the land becomes more and more blurry. And if you go south enough, you see this dark spot where there's just literally no sight at all. He kind of points to this black mass. This map is powered by the faith of the believers. As you can see, it is weakened over time, but never to the extent where we were totally devoid of sight. And he kind of points down to it, and in this place there is such an evil that it blocks out all faith, all of the fear of Bahamut. If I had to guess where this evil was located, it would be here in the wastes. But you see, this evil, it has a new name. There's much corruption in this world, but we think that there's one source of it. The people have whispered this name very softly in taverns and behind closed doors. We believe the woman, the being who is responsible for this corruption, is a person that the people call the widow. We don't know much about her other than that the stench of the Dark Mother engulfs her. Now, unfortunately, we don't have much to give you, and this task is not easy. So I've taken the liberty of trying to find you some candidates worthy of your skill to aid you in battle. And as he kind of he looks at his book, he kind of unleashes this kind of flurry of pages, kind of start spurting out of this book. And you see floating in the air, about 10 pages. And they have lists of, pictures of these dashing heroes. He was there are not many who could match you in your skill, and definitely none that could match you in your tenacity. However, I think there are two that are particularly intriguing. I believe you even know one of them. And he points to a picture of a now elderly gentleman, but whose face you definitely recognize. It's the face of Donovan Brigham, one of your old allies. And then beside him, one of our healers came upon this man, this elf, and for some reason, she was called out by him. Something was strange about him. And so she gave him something that has given him the sight of Bahamut. Or at least not the sight, but visions of your return, even before I knew. It seems that Bahamut has had this in the workings for quite a while. Especially, you know how drastic the situation must be if we were to call upon you, Kriv. Now, Krivnarin Valranath. Sorry. Will you accept the holy mandate of Bahamut and vanquish this corruption and restore the faith of the people?
I will.
Well then, you'll be needing your armaments. I feel as though a reunion is in order. Go down the hall, and before you stands your weapons and your armor. And as you go down the hall, you kind of see this kind of elevated display of your armor from, a bit polished up. And you see kind of on this high pedestal, this glorious battle axe. And he says, please, after you. And so as you walk into this building, I assume you grab your weapons and your armor.
Indeed.
And you begin, I kind of see this montage of armor, some heavy metal music playing, tying some strings and whatnot, lacing it up. Anyway. And as you finally kind of prepare yourself, he says, please stand here. The two allies that I spoke of, I hope that they piqued your curiosity. If you wish to find them, you can find them at the Lacerite Inn in the capital of Emeritus. Whenever you're ready, if you have no other questions, stand on the dais and you will be transported.
I will do what you say. And wrath will follow my name.
Go, Holy Templar of Bahamut. May you bring about his justice. And as with this final farewell, you kind of get engulfed in the same silvery light as you kind of are transported from this, whatever this was, into the sky. Sort of like a flaming meteor.
A cool breeze rustles the trees on the outskirts of Emeritus, the shimmering capital. Gentle clouds roll across the sapphire sky, adorned by the majesty of a golden sun. But something stirred on the horizon. A flame from the heavens grows larger as its searing presence races toward the shining city. With a thunderous crash, the falling star tore a swath of grass and shrubbery, 100 foot wide, its great heat igniting everything in its grasp. And in its wake, vengeance was reborn. Surrounded by scorched earth, the smoldering, blood-hued scales of a Dragonborn ripple as the creature awakens. Steam boils from its nostrils as a draconic gaze scans the city walls. Dislodging his still blazing axe from the charred soil, he marches forward, dutifully. It is said that the sky would burn when Bahamut's divine jealousy boiled over. when the chosen of the Platinum Dragon grew faithless, on this day, a legend begins.
And as the camera fades away on Kriv, it pans to a more welcoming sight. To that of a bedroom, beautifully adorned in fine silks and ornamentation. And in the bed stands a very handsome elf, accompanied by a very naked, beautiful, red-headed half-elven lady who is gently resting her head upon his chest. Emrys, you wake before your lovely companion. Is there anything that you would like to do, or try to wake her or something?
I continue to lay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I continue to lay there. I don't try to do anything.
Fair enough. And as you both kind of awaken together, she kind of lazily opens her eyes and she looks at you, and you see a broad smile cross her face. And she looks at you and she says, "Well, Emrys, another outstanding performance, if I might say so." Kind of pats your chest.
He goes to tip his hat, but he is not wearing one.
Tell me, Emrys, have you loved many women?
Very few.
At least none as beautiful as I, right?
Of course not.
Something tells me you're only telling me what I want to hear, but I appreciate it.
You'll just have to take me at my word. For my word is true.
Yes, well, at the very least, I have a tale to tell all of the jealous young maidens who have their eye on you in the social circles of the nobility.
As will I.
You know, they might be so jealous that you might be the death of me. But if I had to say, I think it was worth it.
If I am your death, then I shall write the most beautiful poem for your funeral.
Immortality. Such a way to a girl's heart. You know, Emrys, I could just lay here all day. And as if by a stroke of fate, the door downstairs booms open, and you hear this shrill cry, "Anastasia!" And she goes, her eyes go wide in this fear, and she looks at you. "Oh no, it's my father, quick. You must leave, you must hide." And you can hear the rustling of his footfalls kind of going up the stairs. And he's continually screaming out, "Anastasia, where are you?" She's quick, and she like throws you your clothes. The closet, something, hide.
I take my stuff and I lay under the bed. And I pull out a potion from my pack.
Oh, God.
I don't drink it yet, but I have it prepared to drink.
Okay, so are you like, you said you were underneath the bed or something like that?
Yep.
So as you kind of get settled underneath your bed, or underneath the bed, the door kind of storms open. You see this rather short and relatively ugly man, this but well-dressed noble, who you know as Count John Dumont. And he kind of looks around as if to find some intruder with his sword drawn. And then she's like, she covers herself up and she's like, "Father, I was changing. Please, what are you doing?" And he looks at her and he's like, "Don't you give that to me, Anastasia. My guard saw you with that vagabond Emrys. Where is he?" She's like, I don't know what you're talking about." "He's in the closet, isn't he?" And he goes over and he gets his sword and he plucks it through the openings between the little panes of the closet. She's like, "Father, what are you doing?" And he pulls back, nothing, no blood, nothing. He opens the closet, and there's nothing there. And he looks around. And so, Ryan, why don't you make me a stealth check as opposed to my perception, and we'll see what happens.
If I see him coming towards the bed, then I drink the potion.
Okay, so what does the potion do?
It's a potion of invisibility.
Oh, you bastard. Okay, even though he had a 22 perception, as soon as he turns his back, he gets the intuition to look under the bed, and to much of his distress, finds nothing there. And he kind of, he looks around variously, trying to find any other hiding places. He opens the window and looks out of it, tries to see you, but all to none avail. And he kind of looks around and kind of puzzled and embarrassed and flustered, and he's like, if I see you with him again, there'll be hell to pay. And he kind of slams the door behind him and goes back downstairs. And so the lovely Anastasia kind of looks down. She looks, very, confused as to why she didn't find you under the bed. And Emrys?
I don't say anything.
Do you have your clothes, or is it just,
I would have had them in my arms, so if they would have disappeared with me.
Okay, I got you. She kind of does the same little routine of looking around, trying to find where in the hell you are. Even though she rolls a whopping 8 perception check, she is unable to find anything, and it's just kind of Emrys, you can come out now. He's not going to hurt you. Well, at least not now.
For all she knows, I am gone.
So, how would you like to? Would you just like to stay there until she leaves, or are you trying to escape out the window or something?
I'm gonna stay until she leaves, and then I'll probably go to the window.
Okay, so about 10 minutes pass, and she is just perplexed and kind of upset. And she kind of sits there with her arms crossed and very pouty lips. She's like, "Well, at least I'll have the memories." And she kind of goes off and goes on down the hall, and for all you know, she goes and take a bath or something.
Wash away the sins.
Wait, so what did you say?
I said she has to wash away the sins.
Oh, yeah, sure. So you are kind of in this room, buck naked, clothes in hand. Nobody's here. The window is open. There's also a door leading to the rest of the, estate. So what do you want to do?
I will dress and go out the window.
Okay. So as you dress, you get all your stuff together and you got all your things, and you kind of look outside and you see it's not a quite as easy escape as you thought. It's quite a jump from here to the next rooftop and so on further down and so forth. So if you'd like to escape, roll me an acrobatics check. Or dexterity saving throw, whatever you want to do. Or use some of your other skills or something.
That's a 17. 11 plus 6.
So you perfectly time the jump, and you get just enough lift to catch the rooftop by your fingertips. You nearly almost fall off. But luckily you kind of catch yourself and you pull yourself up, and you kind of get the rest of your strength, and you kind of do these little hops and jumps and twists all the way down until you're at street level. And the coast is clear. No one is searching for you. You've made a dashing escape. You loved him and left him. Although you do realize just about this time that it looks to be noon in the sky. And I do believe you had a pesky appointment at a nearby tavern around 10 o'clock. It appears you're late for a very important date.
I guess I take off sprinting through the streets.
And as the sprinting montage ends, We go over to another more crowded part of the city, and we follow this elderly gentleman as he kind of makes his way through the crowds. Well, could you describe a little bit of what he looks like?
This man is, to anyone looking at him, is generally unassuming. Seems to be nothing special about him upon first glance. He's a relatively short man as well, only standing at about 5'6". And he wears, an unassuming gray cloak as he walks through the capital streets. His eyes wary. You can see some bags under his eyes. He moves a hand to maybe rub one of them and cough into his hand. And his eyes straightforward, scanning in front of him. He just continues to move forward for his age. And the steps seem oddly methodical.
Yeah, and in addition to that, you've kind of gone this route many times before. And today it seems a lot more crowded than it usually is. Usually it should be. And you're kind of, maybe a little annoyed by this as you kind of have to duck and weave between the masses as they kind of go their separate ways in traffic. But, after a few minutes, you finally get to where you're going to. There's this actually rather upscale inn owned by one of your buddies called the Last Right Inn. And you kind of finally see it in the distance. And I assume you walk in.
Perfect timing, Britain. Yeah. All right. Oh, sport ball. Yes. Upon seeing this in, his kind of a stiff form would relax just a little bit, and he would let out a small breath and walk forward into the inn.
And as you walk in, you kind of see that this inn, since it's been a few weeks, maybe a few months since last time you saw it, and it certainly has gotten a lot nicer, a lot more polished since the last time you've been in there. In addition to that, it's also become a lot more popular. There's a lot more people in the bar and at the tables kind of all eating, and it's much louder than it usually is. And you kind of scan the crowd of masses, and you see the bartender that you know so well. And he kind of looks at you, and he knows you well enough to not make a big scene, but he kind of gets this half-crooked smile, and he nods towards you, kind of as a sign of respect. And he kind of gestures you on over.
All right. And he would give a small. He wouldn't smile, but he would nod, and he would move towards a seat, a few spaces to the right of the bar of where the other man is standing, which, even though it's so busy, is empty. That is his spot, and his spot alone.
When you get there appears to be some punk who's actually sitting in your seat. And the bartender kind of has this wry smile on his face, and he kind of goes around and he says, "Excuse me, son. You see that elderly gentleman over there? It looks like he's quite weary from his travels. You wouldn't mind giving your seat to an elderly old man, would you?" And the guy kind of gets up and he's like, "Oh, no, of course not." And he kind of like puts his hand on your shoulder and is like, "Here, sir, have my seat."
He would look up, slightly annoyed with like maybe it's like a scowl for just a little bit of a second. I'm kind of expecting. I'm kind of expecting to maybe have to say a few words to get him to move, but then his gaze softens a little bit, and he says, "Thank you."
And as you look to the bartender, you see this really big grin on his face. It's a really big man, about 6'3", about 200 pounds. Still very athletic, very muscly figure, and he kind of, puts his arm up on the bar, and he kind of like looks to you, and is like, "So, Don, how have you been?"
He would kind of sit down, rest his elbows on the bar, and look up at him. It's like, what do you think?
Pretty tough one this time, huh?
Yeah.
He kind of looks down. I know better than to ask you what you saw, but I do hear rumors. Is it getting any better out there?
Yeah, he just looks up and he said, "Wish I could say otherwise, Rob, but no. If anything, it's getting worse. The people don't believe in us anymore. They are skeptical, scared, and honestly, I don't blame them."
And he kind of puts his hand on his chin. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to believe in anything when you're scared that you might starve to death the next day or have your family slaughtered before your eyes. It's been a rough few years since the war, hasn't it, Don?
That's an understatement.
Yeah. We were just boys at the time, but even during the war, it seemed better than this.
It's weird when you have to look back on that and think that those were the good old days.
He gets this wry chuckle and he looks downward. He's like, "Well, there's plenty of time for Gavin now that you're back. Say, Don, don't suppose I can get you a real man's drink this time?"
He gives out this kind of uncharacteristic laugh and just kind of this wry smile. Like, no. The usual, please.
He kind of exhales and looks down. He's like, "One of these days, Don, I'm going to make you drink with me a good old bottle of whiskey. And damn it, you're going to enjoy it."
I only told you I'd drink with you if you could take me down.
And he kind of thrusts his left leg up on the bar. And it's like, and before you see this wooden prosthetic leg. Might be a bit hard, but I wouldn't be opposed to beating a man to death with my own leg. Especially for whiskey.
Still smiling. He's like, "Yeah, right. What's the record now?"
Ah, shit it, old man. Kent, get this man some pork and orange juice. Yeah, that's right, Kent. I said orange juice. And you kind of hear this high-pitched voice in the back. "Oh, is Mr. Donovan back?" "Yeah, he's sitting right here." He's like, "Okay, I'll be right out, sir." And you know Kent to be Rob's son. It is a bit odd of a character. His dad is very huge and imposing figure, and Kent is much more near your size, maybe even a little bit shorter, and much more not at all muscled at all, very wimpy and kind of sickly looking figure. And he kind of brings you out this plate and a tall glass of orange juice. And he kind of looks up at you and says, "It sure is good to see you again, Mr. Donovan."
Same to you.
Can you? And he kind of like looks to his dad and looks back to you. Any stories? Any, you know, anything? He kind of gets this like excited grin of your adventures or something. Any new stories?
Donovan would just kind of stare at him. Says, "You know me. I don't got much stories to tell. Ain't nothing interesting ever happens around me."
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Well, if you need anything, Mr. Donovan, I'll be right here. And he kind of runs off and goes to tend more patrons at the bar. And as the boy kind of runs off, you see his father Robert kind of like looking after him. And he kind of, excuse me, he looks to you and he says, "You know, I hope I raised that boy right." And he kind of stops for a second. It's been tough without his mother.
Yeah, you're doing it all right, Rob.
And then at the, no, go for it.
Yeah, it's like, and he kind of points as his kid is kind of going up doing whatever. It's like, that kid's a spitting image of you back when you were 7. Weak, scrawny. Nope, really, that's about it. That's all I remember about you.
Man, back in Alabasta, things were a lot different, weren't they?
Yeah, good old days, right?
Yeah, I haven't thought about those times in years. It's been too much crap to deal with here.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about him is he has his mother's eyes.
Yeah.
Everything else, terrible. Wonder where he got it from.
Oh, gee, I wonder. Well, I suppose that you're here for the festival too, eh?
Donovan would just kind of raise an eyebrow slightly. Like, what do you mean?
Don. He kind of chuckles. Don't tell me you forgot. The festival. He kind of like looks at you like his head sideways like a dog.
A look of realization would get on his face, and then a look of annoyance. Like, yeah, I think I'm just going to stay cooped up in here for the night, if that's fine with you.
Well, if you can live through if you can sleep through the fanfare, then by all means. But we all know that you're not exactly a heavy sleeper.
You just sigh. I'll make it work. Anywhere to avoid the crowds.
Don, I don't really understand why you have such a aversion to these festivals. It is celebrating your exploits, after all. I know it's not exactly a happy time, but
Told you many times. It's all hyperbole. I didn't do anything.
I mean, I even lost my own damn leg, and I still enjoy the festival. The celebration of the end of the siege of the last rites. That was a hell of a day. That was when you became a legend. Hyperbole, my ass. I saw you.
Yeah. You saw me. I saw Dragonborn.
Oh, yeah, I remember hearing stories about that. The bards still sometimes tell tales. And he kind of snaps at the mention of bards. I just remembered. I just heard a story about your friend, the Dragonborn. Something about him being pale, sickly. No, not sickly. It is pale Dragonborn. Some with a K. Kravitz. Krix. Grana Voskowitz. He kind of like just starts blabbing out names until you correct him. Calypso. Kraken. Krakara. Kriv. That's right.
Loraxinoth.
Loraxinoth. That's a difficult name to pronounce if I ever heard one. Oh, well, anyway. Speaking of this Kriv character, I just hired this bard. I don't know if you've heard of him. His name is what is it? Emrys Silverflute. He's pretty well known in these parts. He's kind of like getting this grin, like he just like it's essentially like the equivalent of like, you know, Bon Jovi or something, like just like landed in like is performing at this guy's bar. Such a cool reference, I know.
Yeah, something different about him. He's really the only minstrel I've ever liked.
Really? I've never known you to like any of those songs. Like you said before, it's all just hyperbole. What's different about him?
The way he does something. I don't know, something about the lyrics. Just, I don't care for the legends, but they give people hope of what things around here used to be like.
You know, Don?
It's a small beacon, if you will.
I think you missed your calling by not becoming an eloquent, well-spoken bard. That was goddamn beautiful.
Yep, and you're full of shit.
Speaking of that bard, he kind of looks around. He's supposed to be here an hour ago. Where is that layabout?
Well, sure he'll be in here shortly.
That man's he's got a woman for every day of the week. Probably out with some lady.
No, I did say those things, but how often is he late like this?
About near every damn day. But he's too valuable. He brings in a lot of this business. I have to say that, you know, without his patronage here at the tavern, we wouldn't be near as damn popular as we are. Even if it being a festival and all. They all want to see the best of the Bexmara.
Yeah, after hearing it, you know, he's the reason this is so popular around here. Donovan actually kind of looks up. He's just kind of thinking for a second. You know what? It'd be better if he just didn't show up. Be a lot quieter.
And as you say that, the door flies open and Emma stands there, huffing and heaving, out of breath. So he just ran across town.
The barkeep kind of looks at you. And he says, Emrys! Running from the law?
Daddy issues. And he winks to the bartender.
Oh, for the
Yeah.
love of...
When you say running from the law, Donovan would... He's not looking at him, but Donovan would hold his hand up.
He kind of looks away from Don real quick and goes to his corner.
And at that moment, the barkeep kind of comes over to you and he's like, Are you gonna do a song?
Do you have any requests?
You know, we were just talking about, you see that guy over there? Short one, gray hair, ugly, drinking a fucking glass of orange juice.
Yeah. As soon as you say ugly, he'd be drinking the orange juice and he'd be like, keep drinking it.
Gotta stay sober so you can check it.
Yeah, well, whatever. Well, it turns out he knows this Krivenex fellow that you've been drilling on about. Why don't you play one for him?
And he looks, Amos looks around the room and he starts to put his pan flute back away. Reaches behind him and pulls out his lute so that he can play and speak at the same time. Any in particular, he says.
He kind of scratches his prickly beard and kind of twirls his handlebar mustache. What was the one that those ladies were falling in love with? The one you played last week? Play that one.
I have the one about his final battle, or the one about him being on his way.
Do the way one. Give him some hope. Final battle sounds very ominous.
Depends.
It's a festival after all, man. We gotta get these beers a flowing.
It depends who you ask. And he clears his throat. The Dragonborn comes, he says, and he starts playing. Our hero claims a warrior's heart. I tell you, the Dragonborn comes. This breath-wielding power of an ancient ancestry. Believe, the Dragonborn comes. It's an end to the evil of all our dark foes. Beware, the Dragonborn comes. For the darkness has passed, and the legend yet grows. You'll know, the Dragonborn comes. And he continues just playing off.
As the chorus sounds again and again, and the crowd kind of gathers to sing along and drink and be merry, an odd-looking creature, a dragonborn, approaches from outside this building, a symphony from within, and his eyes blinking with a stern face. He cannot recall the steps that it took to get here. His mind is fuzzy, but he knows his purpose, and it's within. As he approaches the door, his hand reaches for his axe, and he grabs it and chops and swings, and red fills his gaze. And then he's back to reality as his hand reaches for the doorknob, the handle. Calm. It is not something he is good at. And he opens the door, entering.
And before you see an elderly gentleman kind of far removed. There's a captive audience kind of at one corner of the tavern. And at the other corner, seemingly nearly alone by himself, is this elderly gentleman whose hair is only beginning to gray, sipping on some orange fluid.
I imagine the place is larger than he expected, and he stands in the doorway, scanning the patrons. For what seems like an eternity.
And so as the so Ryan, would you say that your song is continuing to kind of like go on through this, or would you stop at the sight of this guy walking in? And look, you didn't like burst through the doors, you just kind of opened it calmly, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Do I have view of the door from the corner that I'm in?
Yeah, I'd say that you could see him, but like everybody else's like back is to him, including Donovan's kind of like off in his corner, like, and then he's not, his back is facing him, and then you're kind of looking across all of the bar from this elevated position, like a little slightly raised stage. So you could probably see him first.
Yep. I'm Sorry, I just like to say something.
Sure.
I like to imagine that as the door opens and Kriv. Have you walked in already, Kriv?
In the doorway. It
In the
almost
doorway.
looks like I'm in a almost like a stupor as he kind of just like stares at everyone in here going on. A complete alien to the situation.
And before Ryan says this thing, if he's going to say anything once he sees you, I like to think that as soon as you take a step forward, Donovan would, his head would motion upwards just a little bit, his back still turned. And if Rob could see Donovan's face, it would kind of contort in like confusion. And he thinks to himself, I know that gate. And as his head turns, Ryan, if you want to say anything.
Okay. As I see the Dragonborn opening the door, standing in the door frame, the chorus is coming back through, and instead of the Dragonborn comes, he changes the lyrics to the Dragonborn is here. And he stands up on the stage and steps onto his stool instead of sitting on it while playing and points to the door. The Dragonborn is here. I have told the tale. He is here. He stops the chorus but continues to play as people start to turn around, looking to where he's pointing.
Yeah, I'd say that the people are completely dumbfounded. Their mouths are on the floor, just staring at this alien creature with just awe and a little bit of fear. And nobody moves, not a muscle, not an inch. It's just complete silence. Exactly.
Kriv takes 2 or 3 steps into the establishment.
Donovan would have. Oh, sorry if you want to say something.
No.
Yeah. Donovan would have now slowly turned and just looks at you. Just confused. And maybe you meet his gaze, I don't know.
Sure. Upon seeing the face that is now familiar to him, an old and grizzled friend, he makes his way toward the ranger, apprehensive. The floor creaking under his step.
Would you sit next to him on like a bar stool or something like that?
Probably not sit, but kind of walk up to him, waiting for a response.
Yeah. Donovan, I guess, amidst the silence and like everyone staring, he would stand up and noticeably there's at least a 2-foot difference between the Dragonborn and the old man here.
Exactly a 2-foot difference.
Yeah. He looks up to you. The silence continues for a second.
Donovan Brigham.
Kriv Loraxonoth. Sorry to say I forgot the full name. Last time I saw you, you had a sword through your gut. And you disappeared. How are you here?
Bahamut.
I guess.
Hmm.
I know it. I can't say I'm glad to see you, since I know what your arrival means. But good to see you, I guess, Kriv.
And for the first time since Kriv awoke and made his way across this distance through the city with the odd gazes and this fury inside of him, almost a wave of calm and joy in a strange sense washes over him as he remembers and recalls those he fought alongside and being led by Don, his friend and ally. And if a Dragonborn could smile, he does so.
Donovan would just the smallest bit of a smirk on his face, and he'd hold his arm up like this towards Kriv.
It is good to see you, old friend. As he grabs your arm.
Oh, by the gods, let go. Good. Your grip hasn't slackened.
But yours has.
Yeah, getting older will do that to you.
I was unsure. How long has it been?
It's been about 35 years. Lots happened, Kriv. None of it good.
That is why I have come. We must speak elsewhere, but before we do so, I am also looking for someone else. A half-elf with a flute.
Donovan, I'm in just kind of tilts his head just the tiniest bit and kind of narrows his eyes. Excuse me, what did you say?
I said, I'm looking for an elf with a flute.
You would see Donovan's gaze slowly tilt towards the bard. Well, there's one.
And his,
You see Emrys, he's staying on his stool, like standing on the stool completely, lute in hand on a flute, smiling back at the both of you.
not caring at all for musical instruments, the Dragonborn squints in your direction. Elf, I must speak with you.
And I with you, he says. You see like this faint glow coming from under his shirt. Still on top of his stool, he begins to take off his shirt and press like the entire right side of this part right here and down his arm. It's the marks of a blue Dragonborn. As they glow sapphire blue, draconic markings of healing words rest around the dragon on his arm. It is the mark of Kitrif, the sapphire blue healer of Bahamut.
Hearing the name of an ally of Bahamut, Kriv draws within himself, retracts rather, but does not show this on the outside. And he repeats himself, "We must speak."
We shall.
All right. Emrys, come along. I'll arrange an audience immediately.
And the Dragonborn's gaze kind of looks over Rob, the barkeep, and the other patrons of the bar, but says nothing.
Donovan would actually turn back to Rob, kind of walk rather quickly to the bar, and he'd say, "Oh, Rob, I have a feeling I won't be seeing you for a while." He'd hold out his fist.
Yeah, Rob and the rest of the bar is still kind of dumbstruck by all the events that just took place. But he kind of recovers and he slowly extends his hand out to you. And your knuckles, you fist bump.
His hand like twice as big as mine. You take care of that boy of yours. And he would nod curtly and not wait for a response, and would turn around and start walking.
And where are you walking to, young Donovan?
Donovan would be walking towards the palace.
So you know that on the day of the festival that the royal procession. So are you going to see? Who are you going to see? Essentially,
I am going to see the Royal Ranger.
So as you kind of walk out the door, or before you do, you remember that one of the Royal Ranger's duties during this festival is to essentially be present with the royal procession as they kind of go down their parade route. So you would have to go deep into the heart of the festival through crowds and crowds of people. And I feel like a shudder would probably shiver down your spine.
Yeah. And I'm he just kind of sigh, and he turned to Kriv and Emrys. Follow me. I know a shortcut. Yep, and we would begin walking towards rather briskly towards the parade procession.
Yeah, and you would know that the parade procession ends at the palace, so you're really close to the palace. So you just kind of go maybe a few hundred feet and just kind of wait amongst. And as you kind of exit out, you kind of see this crowds of people just kind of all waiting in the street, waiting along like you for the royal procession. And as you kind of go and join them, about 20, 30 minutes pass. During this time, do you guys say anything to each other, or are you guys just kind of standing in silence?
I have a feeling that Donovan and Crib aren't much for small talk.
I'm just imagining the most awkward 20 minutes of waiting possible.
Yeah,
okay.
I just feel like if anyone would say anything, it'd be Emrys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially, just to kind of get a quick rundown of what to expect. So that the royal procession, it essentially kind of goes in this kind of winding path around the city, and then it ends at the palace, and then there's the burning of the effigy of the Dark Mother, and there's a big yay, and then the procession kind of that's the end of the festival, is the burning of the witch. So are you planning on, I guess, waiting until after that to approach them, or are you gonna just try to interrupt the festival and just kind of go straight into the procession?
So Donovan thinking, normally he would not do anything to be out of line or do anything of the sort. But he feels as if this matter trumps the parade. And basically when we got close, people going around, people going crazy. This, what does the procession look like, I guess, as they're kind of moving through the streets?
Yeah, so at the front of the procession is this huge kind of this effigy of this representation of the Dark Mother, and then just behind it is the kind of the royal float. It's filled with about 30 feet wide and 30, about 40, 50 feet long. It's really huge and elaborate kind of float, and you can kind of see the crown prince and the princess and the royal ranger and an assortment of guards kind of all surrounding this royal procession. And you see the various street performers and all that kind of stuff as as they kind of approach towards you. Is there anything in particular you're looking for besides the royal float?
I would just be looking. Donovan would just be looking for the Royal Ranger, his friend.
Yeah, and you would see him at the right side of the prince.
Yeah, and Donovan would just put two fingers in his mouth, and you'd hear an incredibly high-pitched. It somehow goes over the procession for a second, and it just pierces. I can't whistle. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you hear that, and that's basically he's doing that to get the attention of his superior.
And immediately upon this sound, you see him kind of stiffen and look about. And he kind of looks and finds you nearly immediately. He kind of bends over and whispers something to the prince. And the prince kind of nods and just kind of waves him along. And if you could read lips, it looks like he's saying, "I'll be right back." And he kind of discreetly just walks his way off of the float and kind of merges in and making a direct kind of line to you. And the people are kind of still all kind of cheering about, and you're kind of, I would say, on the front line of the of where the street ends and the crowd begins.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this tall and weathered man about your age, maybe a little bit older, kind of walk up to you. And he has a stern look at his eye, and he says, Brigham, this better be important.
And pretty much all Donovan does is he just does this, pointing behind him.
And he kind of looks at you, Kriv, wide-eyed. He kind of sighs. He's like, I should have been expecting this. Well, we can't very well talk in the middle of a festival. Is there someplace quiet nearby? Say, you have a room at the nearby tavern, don't you? And looking to Brigham.
Yeah. Just came from there. We can go back.
And so you guys kind of make your way through the crowd, walking along, and you make your way back into the crowd or make your way back into the inn, and you see the patrons almost as if still frozen from the shock of what just happened, look and see you again, and just kind of like watch you wordlessly as you guys move into the back room where it's your customary place. Then you guys kind of go in and you unlock the door and you proceed into this really small, pretty modest room. And you all kind of get comfortable, and he kind of looks at you and he says, "Okay, what's going on?"
Kriv does not sit.
Okay, I forget you're not comfortable.
I'm not ever comfortable.
Indeed. And he looks to you, Kriv. I know if you're here, it's not exactly good news. Brigham, is this?
His Highness needs to be informed.
And he kind of looks to you. Is this related to?
Yes.
He takes a deep breath. I see. Do you have any inclinations, perhaps a revelation of some sorts?
The South. The wastes.
And kind of
The heart of darkness lies there.
He kind of puts his hand on his chin. He kind of scratches it, looking off. Oh, there's a lot of land between here and the wastes. Forest, ravines, cities, barbarians, all kinds of stuff. What makes you think that something's there?
Bahamut.
I should have figured that one. Looks like I am getting old, eh, Brigham?
Yeah, once he asks, what makes you think that? And then he says Bahamut, Donovan would just kind of be like, or he'd be like, he'd be like, yep.
I see. Well, I suppose a expedition of sorts is in order. Well,
You'd be damn right about that.
Yeah. Well, the festival's about to end. So, after the king, or the prince, gives his grand speech of hope and peace and all that jazz, we'll get a royal audience with him and see what he says. But for now, I suppose let's make our way to the palace and just get the logistics in order. Anything else you'd like to discuss before we move on?
I hope you understand that this is of the utmost importance. He looks with probably the most stern face that he's ever seen. Kind of like, I wouldn't be here if this wasn't the most important thing you've done in a very long time.
And he kind of looks you dead-eyed. And he kind of nods to you. A reckoning was coming sooner or later. I guess it's better that it's coming now. And he kind of looks to you, Emrys. It's kind of like this quizzical look on his face, like, of all the people, why is, the most famous bard in the capital here?
When he looks at Emrys, his eyes are closed, and it looks like he's having a conversation in his head.
He looks to Brigham like, what? Brigham.
Donovan, completely straight face, says, Bahamut.
He hangs his head in shame, of course. Well, I suppose now is as good a time as any. Let's go to the palace. And so you guys begin your procession kind of back to the masses, back to where that royal ceremony, the final bearing of the torch is taking place. And as you kind of become within earshot, you're about, at the back of the crowd, just before the crowd begins. You're about like right there. And you're catching the very tail end of his speech. And then the crown prince is saying, unfortunately, due to matters of the state, the royal ranger couldn't be here to throw the ceremonial javelin. However, and he points to the brawny-looking knight, Sir Galen will fill this role, as is our custom. And you see this man pick up his javelin, and he kind of puts his sight, he readies himself, and the crowd goes quiet. He takes a deep breath, and he chucks this flaming javelin through the air, probably about 40, 50 feet. A pretty decent throw, but, it's a pretty big effigy, so it's not all that impressive. But you see as it kind of spirals through the air, Donovan, you get this weird sinking feeling in your stomach. And then as it makes contact with the effigy, all hell breaks loose. Everyone roll initiative.
So, if I might add, during this kind of speech and this ceremony, and Kriv is very uncomfortable. He doesn't like that he's having to wait. He doesn't like kind of this, almost the triviality of everything that's going on. And in his mind, he again reaches for his axe. He takes it out and plunges it in the neck of the civilian next to him, and then to his right at the child, and behind him at Emrys, and then he's brought back to reality. And he releases his axe and calms himself. But he is not good at being calm.
Here's your chance, my friend.
If now there was a time. Okay. So, let me do my taxes real fast. All right. Okay, so this is the scene before you. As soon as the javelin made its way into the effigy, usually what happens is it bursts to flame and the crowd goes wild. This time, the moment that it touched the effigy, a fiery explosion with a radius of about 30 feet in each direction explodes and kind of sends the civilians kind of whooshing back. And everybody kind of falls to the ground in that kind of hemisphere. And you guys are about, it's to your north west. And it's maybe about 100 feet to your northwest. And between you is this kind of sea, this mass of people. And, Kriv is probably the only one who can see this since he's 7 foot tall and can see above most of the crowd. But Kriv, you can see that there's a good section of the crowd that's been just burnt to a crisp. You see people whose legs have just been burnt off, and they're just holding on to this still embering stump. And you see children whose faces just have these horrible, horrible burns, and they're holding their face upon the ground. And you see these scenes of agony. But perhaps even more concerning is you see movement within the crowd. You see these dark cloaks moving, weaving in and out of citizens. And you see the small flicks of blood kind of go up in the air as they're making their way through these mass of citizens. And you hear this horrible screeching, this ecstatic laughter, like a child destroying the toy city. There's just this ecstasy at this destruction coming from these shadowy figures weaving in and out of the crowd. Donovan and Kriv, you've heard this laugh before. And Donovan, was about 35 years ago since the last time you heard it. Kriv, it feels like just mere moments ago before you last heard it. It's the screech of Usari warriors on the warpath. So, Molly, Donovan is the first to react. What do you do?
Hearing the screams, he barely is able to take them in before his bow is in his hand, and he's loosed 2 arrows, weaving in amongst the crowd. And you see, I guess I can go ahead and make some attack rolls against these shadowy figures. All right, and yeah, let's see. All right, yeah, so that'd be a 20 and a 19 respectively.
Oh yeah. Yeah, even with the difficult conditions of there's literally like a mass of people in between, you and these guys. Even in those difficult positions, your arrows are able to find their mark.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Sorry. All right, first combat. Let's look and see what everything is right now. All right. So the first hit would be 21 damage, and the second one would be 27.
Yeah, so as these savages are carving their way through these innocent people, still kind of reeling in a hunched position as they're being assaulted by these Visari soldiers, your arrow just nails them right at the most opportune second, right before the sword falls, and they just fall limp to the ground. 1 down, 2 down. But there are many more to take their place, as there's still many weaving in and out with that fiendish laughter, carving through the path of citizens.
Yep.
And so just to kind of give you guys kind of a reference, you guys are essentially at the edge of the crowd. There's about 30 feet of, like a mass of people in between, in a straight line, kind of going left and right. In between you and like the parade, like the street dancers and the beginning of like the road. And the road itself is about like 30 feet wide, or like 40 feet wide. And for right now, you guys can only see kind of these shadowy figures on your side. You don't see any on the opposite side.
Donovan, pretty much immediately after losing these 2 arrows, before they've even found their mark, into these Uthgar warriors, he would turn very quickly to the Royal Ranger Sebastian, his friend and superior, He's like, get the guards, form a perimeter, evacuate as much as you can. I'm going in. And he would begin just bolting forward, weaving in and out of the crowd with ease, even as they're so panicked, moving towards the enemy.
Yeah, and as you go to say that to Sebastian, the Royal Ranger, you notice that he's not there beside you. He has already leaped into the fray. He brought out his bow near in tandem with yours, but was just behind you. And essentially, he clicked some button on his bow and was able to weave through the crowd. And as you can see him in a dead run in front of the other side of the crowd, just as if appearing out of thin air. And he's running towards the royal float with bow in hand. And he's about maybe like 20 feet away from the edge of it. And he's in a frenzied run towards it.
Mm-hmm. And if possible, those 2 arrows I shot, those probably would have been at any that were already running full speed towards the royal float. If that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. I mean, so for right now, the figures seem to be just moving within the mass of people. They don't seem to be going either out or in. It just seems to be going through like the heart of them. It's just appearing what they were doing right now.
All right. And so if Sebastian had already run off, Donovan, if there weren't any other guards around, who's just like, and he would run towards. If Sebastian was running straight towards the royal float, Donovan would probably be running somewhere in the middle of those. Having his bow out and taking pot shots at any warriors as he can while he's running.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my turn.
And with that, it is young Rhinan's turn. What does young Emrys do?
Seeing all this go down, not really sure what's going on. He's quite short. Can't really see over the people. He starts playing this uplifting tune on his pan flute. He begins to levitate 20 feet in the air. Kriv feels inspired to hit well as I give him Bardic Inspiration.
You know, Ryan, you're going to have to remind us like every round to use Bardic Inspiration. So just
roll a D8 if you miss, Logan.
D8. Dang, son.
Yeah, wow.
Dang.
You get
Like
1D8
on steroids.
Okay, so Ryan, as you kind of levitate in the air, you get a much more, a better view of the battleground before you. And you can see about, it's a bit difficult to tell, but maybe like about a dozen or so of these figures kind of weaving in, and these cacklings kind of forming this sick and sordid, symphony. But even more intriguing, you see this figure kind of donned in this half cloak, with this hood up and a bow drawn at the ready on the opposite side of the street, on top of this building, just overlooking the scene before him.
Does he do anything, or is he like taking shots?
Right now his bow is kind of laying lax against his thigh, and his hand is against his hip. Essentially, he's in a relaxed position. He's not drawing. He's not doing anything right now. But his eyes are gazed downward.
And I tell Kriv, I shout. I stop my playing long enough to shout at Kriv below me which direction this guy stands and what I see.
Okay. And so, speak of the devil. Kriv. That's your turn.
So you said I was tall enough to see over most of the crowd.
Yes.
Did I need an indication from Emrys to see this figure?
Yeah, so like just kind of from the geometry of like where you were as to where he was, it would have been near impossible for you to see him.
Okay, so as I quickly glance at this figure, it looks different than the
So-
robed figures.
Yeah, so these guys, you can see that they have these light blue skin and the dark red eyes and sharp needle-like teeth of the Visari. And they're kind of basically just weapons of chaos and destruction. The guy, from where you can see, you can't really make out a lot of details. He's quite a bit of ways away, but he's much calmer, and has a different physique. And he's not. You can get the impression that he's not a Visari.
But that he's not say a ranger.
Oh no,
Right.
no, he doesn't. He doesn't look to be a generous sort of bloke.
All right. Okay. I guess that begs the question: how far away?
Oh, you got 30 feet of people, then you got about, let's just say, another 40 feet of road, 30 feet of people on the other side, and then like building. He's very far away.
Okay.
And kind of interspersed between the crowds are these, these swords kind of weaving in and out. And as of right now, that is really all you see.
All right. Well, and like the float is like
It's like straight ahead of you.
right, and the figure is like
He's like directly behind it.
behind the float.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Sure. All right. Then,
Up and away.
So,
Oh, I forgot to mention that
Maybe
movement
not
through the
so.
crowd is half movement, unless you can give me a reason as to how you overcome that.
yeah. I'm just, yes. No, I'm just saying like, melee man is at a loss.
Throw your axe.
Yeah.
And there are some, Visari kind of within your striking distance.
No. Okay, I got it. So the Vasari are making their move toward the.
They are going through the heart of the crowd. They don't
They're
appear
kinda
to
doing
be
whatever.
going towards any of the floats or anything like that. They're not going in. They're not going out.
Okay, well, the closest one to 30 foot towards the float.
I got it.
Kriv-
You need as many on your way as you can.
Kriv reaches back for his axe and meets it with this iron grip, and as he takes a step forward, disappears and appears 30 feet away towards the float, so right next to the float. And as he reappears, is a chopping action to slash whatever Visari is in front of him in half.
So was it kind of like you kind of went through the crowd and like on your journey through the crowd you
That's
sliced?
Yep.
Okay. So
So
roll me some attack rolls.
Paladin of Vengeance spell.
That's dope, dude.
Yeah. I have no time to meander through crowds.
I was kind of hoping you'd roll like an athletics or something and just
So-
like like push them through and stuff.
I'm good. 27.
Yeah, dude, you like demolish.
Yeah, so unless you want me to roll for damage, I'm gonna chop him in half.
No.
And as I take since I haven't used a move action yet, I'm gonna move another 30 foot and attempt to chop another one on my way past the royal
Ranger.
parade,
Oh, gotcha.
the royal float.
So you're going past the float, correct?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And Kriv doesn't really run. It's kind of like a hefty
A
jaunt.
saunter,
Yeah. So
like a trot.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
21.
21. No,
So
that is not
as
it. I'm
he
sorry.
slashes one and makes his jaunt towards another and skewers him on the edge of his axe, throwing him aside, running in the direction that is that would have been behind the float.
Is there any like physical backlash as you kind of like move through this crowd of people, like kind of like spirit strike through them, or would it just be like you're going through air essentially, and on the way you kind of hit that one guy?
Oh, I guess.
How do you see it?
Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay, so
Setting the precedent here, man.
you
Whatever
know
sounds
what?
coolest
You
to
know
you. I
what?
don't have a
We'll
preference.
default it. We'll default it. So he appears, slashes the guy in half, and as he makes his way toward behind the float, he just lets out like a belting move. I mean, it's get out of the way or get chopped down.
Yeah.
As he takes another massive swing for the Visari warrior, cleaving him in half.
Yeah. Immediately as you boom this, so the people were kind of already kind of getting up and recovering. And you just kind of see like a scattering of ants, essentially. Like, if you dropped like a cup of water into an ant pile, or you threw a rock into an ant pile, you'd see like all of that's exactly what's going on. People are running in every which direction trying to get out. It's just pure chaos. But the guys that are in front of you are like, yeah, I'm not going towards that guy. I'm going away from that guy.
So I guess to kind of reinforce this, I'm not really gonna make a check, but I do have the menacing feat. So when I boom my voice like that, it's very much like get the F out of the way.
Yeah, okay, and so you kind of, although the crowd gets less dense, they become more spread out.
Mhm.
And so no one is going inward towards the procession. They're all running away from the direction you guys are running. So the only one who might be affected by this is Donovan, because you were just kind of like in the middle of the crowd, right, Donovan?
Yes, but I will say if it's a matter of people like changing direction, people grouping up, I do ignore difficult terrain. If this is essentially what this
Okay,
is.
so yeah, so then you weave through 30 feet, and you are essentially at the basically where the crowd met the road. You made it through.
All right.
Well, there goes that hurdle.
So
Everybody bypassed it.
So I didn't say it during the turn, but if I felt it was necessary, I would have dashed as a bonus action for 60 feet.
Okay, and where do you want to go?
I basically, so if Sebastian is running towards the royal float, I'm basically running to the front of it. I want to be in between these guys moving forward, even if they're just dispersed. I want to be there so I can go and basically take all of them out from that vantage point, but making sure that none of them manage to make it past me, just in case they will at some point meet the nobility.
Okay, and so you're on top of the float, or are you at the front of the float but not on top of it?
I would be at the front of the float.
And not on top of it. Okay. Gotcha. So you were 90 feet, and Kriv, I believe you moved 60 feet, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, so you see.
Well, no, if it was half movement through the crowd, I don't know how you want to.
Didn't you kind of spirit blade through the crowd?
Well, for the first 30 foot, I did Misty Step. But the second 30 foot should technically have only been 15 feet, right? However you want to do it. It's 30,
let's just
45
say
or 60 foot.
Just for like the lack of taxes, let's just say you move 60 feet.
Cool. So they did get it out of the way.
Yeah. that was why. The menacing feat for the win. Okay, and so as they kind of spread out, as the crowd kind of spreads out, the cover that these guys, the Visari, had kind of thin out. And you kind of see, since you guys kind of moved inward, you see about 6 on the side that you just came from, because you just took out like a nice swarm of them. Oh, Logan, did you use your bardic inspiration dice?
No, I did not need to, but I have.
Oh, that's right. I forgot it's
minutes.
only on a miss, right? Like only when you need it.
I mean, I
So,
guess I just
you can
didn't need
choose when
it.
to use it.
Yeah.
Is it only a one-time use, or
he gets 1d8 to use on an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw.
For 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
all do for 10 minutes.
Gotcha.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so there was about 6 on the side you just came from, and about 10 on the other side. As of this moment, they don't seem to be focused on any of you, and they seem to be focused on ensuring as much damage as possible to the crowd. And so during their turn, they just kind of cut through the kind of the chaos of these ants, just kind of like cascading away. They move with them, kind of cutting as many as they can along the way. And I'm assuming, Kriv, that you guys are like, your eyes are locked upon this figure who's standing on that rooftop.
The only one that looks different, yes. Absolutely, then that would be my goal.
Yeah, and you see this figure. He looks down upon you from his perch, and you can't really see his face, but you get this faint glow, this violet glow, like where his eyes are, as your gazes kind of meet. And as soon as your gazes meet, he disappears, just like kind of like a mini vortex, kind of like contorted in, and he just kind of disappears into the air. And as you guys kind of look around, as to like where this guy is gone, you have like it's just nowhere in sight. But the sound that does give him away is that you hear these bow twang, 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 as he shoots 3 arrows, cascading downwards in the direction of the royal procession. If you looked above it, kind of like a triangle, right? Like I see you guys as kind of near the front of that little float. Essentially, he is like 45-degree angle up into the sky, and he's kind of plummeting downwards, and his bow is drawn as he kind of plucks 3 arrows into the necks of the royal guard that's there, and he lands with a resounding thud. And he kind of slowly gets up back to his feet, and he pulls out this weird orb-like object. And he looks to the Royal Ranger, who's kind of running at this mad dash towards the royal procession, and he just gets this wicked smile on his face. And he just throws the orb down, and from the orb, 5 little floating shards of metal kind of appear. And they go to the left of him, they go to the right of him, they go to the front of him, they go to the back of him, they go to the top of him. And from these little shards of metal, this prismatic force gets shot out, this expulsion. And it's this kind of hard light, essentially like a force shield, just kind of exuding out from these pieces of metal. And he looks menacingly at the guards before him and to the crown prince directly behind him. And that is his turn. So we are now at the top of the order. So that would be Donovan. And so you said you were at the front of the float.
Yes.
Yeah, so you see, in addition to all of the the madness that's going on within the crowd, you just saw what happened. And how far away from you from the float? How far away from the float are you?
I am probably at the farthest, probably about 10 feet away from the float.
Okay.
Just in front of it.
Yeah, and so as these shards of metal kind of come out, would you like to react at all before they kind of crystallize inward and kind of like project out? Or are you more focused on, like the people on the outside?
Project out.
So like imagine like a little force field just appeared. That's basically what, like, you saw these shards of metal kind of shoot out. Basically, I'm giving you the opportunity, since your initiative is so high.
Yeah.
If you would like to get inside the float before the seal kind of forms, if you roll me a dexterity saving throw and you succeed, I'll let you do it. But if you think that you're really not, you weren't looking that way, you weren't prepared, then we can just not do it.
So Donovan has a 22 passive perception.
Okay. What?
And he.
Well, I mean, he did say that he recognized Kriv after I took one step into the inn.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So you by far, like as soon as the bow twangs, you were alerted to this guy falling through the air. So just kind of retconning back a little bit, kind of doing this time hop back.
Yeah.
Going back to that moment as the three twangs in the air. What do you do?
To the three twangs in the air. As soon as I notice this, basically as soon as I notice this, my eyes immediately adjust, and I see it kind of as in this slow motion field. I look up. I hear the twangs of the arrows. I see the arrows flying towards the royal guard, and me myself moving fluidly with 4 arrows of my own moving towards. I go, and I would like to try and shoot the 3 arrows out of the air and the last one at the guy.
Okay.
This. So I'm going to be action surging.
I got you.
Right, and I pre-rolled 2 rolls before I went. Yeah. So that was a 24 and a 24. Let's do the next one.
What were those arrows? The 24s and the 24. What were those aimed at?
The arrows.
Okay.
Yeah, and this one is going to be a 22, and the one to hit the guy will be a 23.
Yeah, all 3 of them remarkably hit their mark exactly.
Yep, and I'm gonna roll damage on that guy, assuming that a 23 hits him.
Yes, it does.
All right, so that'll be 25 points of damage to him.
Gotcha.
And if I see that these things are kind of like coming out to like encircle, unless they haven't done that yet since we've gone back. I would like to try and make that dex saving throw to basically get on the float.
Okay.
If that's fine.
I will allow it, but I'm adding to the difficulty of the DC.
I would expect nothing less.
Bitch.
All right, so that is dex saving throw, right?
Correct.
26.
Okay. You make it literally by the skin of your teeth. The DC was 25. So I like to see it as, could you just describe this action surge and also how you made it onto the prism, like before the force field kind of closed shut?
All right, so pretty much immediately I heard the twangs. I see everything is slow motion. You see kind of like after images of Donovan looking up, slow motion. You see the 3 arrows coming. Donovan himself, again, seeing after image of his arm, moving for the arrows at his side, putting one on the bowstring with 3 in his hand, ready to go. He at them, knocks them out of the sky, leaving the 4th one to hit the other guy, in the chest. And when, okay, I think there's can you describe to me again what's going on with the prismatic shield? Is it around him, around the float? What's going on with that?
Okay, so just to kind of take a step back. So as you kind of hit him in the air, he kind of does this kind of corkscrew in the air, kind of adjusting from this impetus of the force, and he kind of lands a lot more roughly and more quickly. He kind of throws out this orb, less showy this time, as if this happened before. And essentially, kind of like as you dive on, it's like these little shards of metal broke apart from the sphere, and as soon as they got to the edges of the float, the left edge, the right, it's like it's a rectangle, right? So it's this cube. So the left, right, front, back, and top. Essentially, those little shards of metal go, and they project out this. Essentially, it's like a hard light that's just kind of repulsing back, and it doesn't cause any force if you don't touch it. It's just keeping whatever is outside out.
All right, and so knowing that, adding to the image, Donovan is moving backwards as he's firing these shots, and you can see as the final one before the hard light closes, he actually does a flip on and throw that final shot at the guy.
Gotcha.
And that's how that happens.
And since we're doing a little bit of retconning, I'd like to add one of my own.
Go for it.
So the Royal Ranger, as soon as this is happening, sees almost as quick as you the twangs and hears it after years and years of training. And he goes and he puts the last bit of effort into getting onto this float before that prism closes. Let's see what he gets. And as he goes and he jumps and his legs hit the ground and he jumps forward with his arms extended, he's just not quite fast enough. And the prism comes down mid-arm and just kind of shoots him back, but with this burning black flame of a explosion, kind of like, I don't know how to describe this, but imagine like if you put your arm inside of a super magnet, in like the left side of your, like the side that's closest to your shoulder is not affected, but the whole forward half of your forearm is just pushed back, and his arm is literally, the bone is just kind of pushed back, wretched forward like at a 90-degree angle, and you hear this sickening crack as it radiates, and he yells in this pure agony as literally the force from the shield just blew off his arm, and it's just hanging by sinew and tendons. And he kind of drops to his knees, writhing in pain, holding what's the stump of his arm. And he looks to you. Get him, Brigham!
Donovan seeing this again. You see the slow motion after image as he turns. He sees this, and you see him look back up at the guy with just at this figure that has created this heart light shield with just fury burning in his eyes and grit teeth. And he curtly nods to what Sebastian was saying.
And with that, it is young Imris's turn. So Imris, last time we left you were levitating 20 feet upwards in the air, right?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Okay, so what would you like to do?
Can I do like an arcana or something to figure out what this prism is?
Yeah, sure.
19.
And so by finding like what this magic is, like what more specific, like what do you mean by that? Like what information are you seeking?
What does this prism do? Is it just like confining them, or is it gonna?
So you can tell that these. So yeah, you can tell that these shards are pulsating outward. So you can gather from your analytical mind that it's keeping whatever's outside out, but not necessarily keeping whatever's inside in. Is there anything else that you were kind of like hoping to gain from that, or is that good?
That's good, I guess.
I guess.
Not really sure what I was going for there. I'll take it.
Yeah. You still have your action. That's not your action, so feel free to do whatever.
Right. So after saying this, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna create a portal below me and close off the levitate as I fall into a dimension door below me that is inside the prism, landing next to Donovan.
So you dimension doored like this kind of like U-turn like underneath the thing, right? Is that what happened?
So I'm gonna open like a dimension door below me because I'm instead of walking forward, I'm just gonna fall into it,
Uh,
and then I'm gonna land right next to Donovan.
I got you. So I would like you to roll me an intelligence check or like an arcana check,
Charisma.
or whatever your spellcaster thing is, to like overcome this force that's kind of pulsating outwards.
16.
That's fine. You pass it with relative ease.
Sweet.
As you it's kind of like a torrent of water kind of pushing you as you kind of like swam through like the dimension and you kind of appeared on the other side. It was kind of like this current was going against you, but you just simply force your way through.
Sweet. Ready.
Okay. Young and lonely Kriv. Kriv.
I want to toss a bardic inspiration towards Donovan also as I
Okay.
land.
Roll me a charisma saving now. Okay. Well, Kriv.
So, from what I understand, I am outside the float.
Indeed.
I am snarling at the figure that has disappeared in front of me, and from behind me, I have heard a wow, like appear like a force field with now Donovan, Imris, and bad guy inside of it.
Indeed.
Okay. Yeah. So
You may describe the scene to you, see if you get some ideas.
I hate to do this to you as well, but Kriv kind
Dean's
of
favorite words.
Kriv is like furious at this point because he's easily ticked off that his target is now moved, and he's now rediscovered his target, and he takes another step, kind of dematerializing and rematerializing within this prism.
Okay. Second verse, same as the first. Roll me whatever your magic spellcaster mod is. So charisma, I think.
17?
Yeah. Same thing. It's like a torrent of water. That's like a little, essentially to you, Kriv, it's like a little tiny flower that little clowns wear that kind of like, that's what it feels like. You're just kind of stepping through a kitty hose.
And so that was a bonus action. So how big is the prism or the thing, the force field? And
so it's a 30-foot wide by 60-foot long float. It's a really huge float.
Yeah.
And so he's about, I'd say 40 feet at the back, kind of standing over some dead guards. And you guys are kind of, so Donovan's at the front of the float, kind of near where the prince and some of the other guards are. And then I'm assuming you came from the similar place, correct? So where would you want to, so you're like, let's just say 10 feet away, same as him, from the float. So you have about 20 feet inwards towards like that 40 feet. So you could come up and hit him.
Okay.
You were within attacking range.
And it's only a bonus action that I've used thus far. So let's see. I will What is he doing? If you don't mind me asking. He's
So
been
he just
struck
got
by an
shot.
arrow.
He got shot midair, and so he kind of landed instead of cleanly on his feet, kind of like down on one knee, and he kind of just pulled the arrow. He broke off the arrow like shaft, and kind of threw it to the side, and is just now standing with his bow in hand. And what's your passive perception, Kriv?
Oh dear. Probably a 13 since I'm not proficient in it. Just plus wisdom 12.
Okay. You see red.
I'm not. No, I actually do have plus 6, 7, 8. No, 6, 16 passive perception.
Okay. So
I am
you can
proficient.
see, you can see this faint glowing on his left palm, the one that's holding the bow, and you can kind of, you can't feel. I don't think you can really feel anything as a paladin, like arcane wise, but
Yeah.
you can see the faint glow of something that's not supposed to be glowing.
Okay. Good. So, all right, then I'm going to back up. The Misty Step was like starting off running, like reappearing within this force wall, and just a straight up charge towards this figure. And yes, I do see red.
Yes. Okay. As you get within about 10 feet of him, I want you to roll me a strength saving throw.
When do I have to use? When can I use Bardic Inspiration? Is it before the roll is revealed,
Yeah,
Ryan?
you can do it after, I'm pretty sure.
At any time.
Okay, so that'll be if it's a strength saving throw, that'll be plus 5, so 17.
That's exactly what you needed.
Well, I was gonna Bardic Inspiration if it wasn't.
So as you ran towards this figure, about 10 feet away, you kind of saw this weird little movement in front of you. And I don't really know how you want to, go about not getting hit, but essentially materializing basically from an invisible nature. I don't know how to describe this very well, but
Sure.
You see the spear come at you and almost graze the side of your cheek as he braces himself for your charge. And so you said you rolled a 17. He also rolled a 17. So you guys essentially lock and stalemate as you guys kind of an equal amount of force behind this titan in steel armor, totally encapsulated with shield and spear in hand.
Oh, okay, I got you. Something else?
Yes, he essentially it appeared like he materialized in front of you, and however you missed that blow is kind of like how, I don't know how you want to, if you dodged out of the way, if you just kind of took it like a champ and it was like nothing.
So I mean, I see it as literally as like shouldering this massive steel titan as I spin, readying my axe to land on the mark that I was going for. Am I halted like the sentinel feat?
Yes, he does have the sentinel feat.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at.
Well, he doesn't have the sentinel feat. He has the sentinel ability for enemies.
I got you.
Yeah. Man, dude, if you got impaled on that, I was gonna laugh. I was smiling as you were charging, and I was like, yeah.
LOL.
Yeah. Oh well.
Like a true DM.
These things happen.
So I have this massive steel titan in front of me.
You can still attack. You essentially he used his reaction to oppose you. Okay. And so you haven't used your actions yet.
So yes, I do attack. But it's like, so Kriv, it's like this, imagine that this attack was going towards his target, but it's all the fury is unleashed on this thing that has now stopped him. Because I make 2 attacks. Crap. $23 and $28.
Okay. You guys suck.
Oh, plus 10. So I swing. My other D12. Stop. $14 and 16.
So 30.
Yes.
Okay. I kind of see it as, you guys both kind of. Oh, what's up?
Nothing. Just want to make sure I don't forget anything. I'm
Okay,
into this stuff.
I got you. Yeah, I kind of see it as this clashing of, of pure strength, and this guy totally encapsulated armor, and you're in full plate too. So, you guys are both just this loud metallic clang reverberates inside this prism. There's this loud, reverberation. Great descriptions. And
does some kind of fancy footwork to twirl around and plant his axe in between the metal plates of this Titan.
Beautifully done, sir. And so, all right. So now it's my turn. It's time for taxes. All right. So I'll go inside the prison first, and then I'll go outside. So within the prism, this sentinel, he looks at you, Kriv, looking you dead in the eye, and he clicks this little button on his spear, or on his spear. And on your turn, remind me to ask you to throw a saving throw. And essentially, he goes into this totally defensive posture and is kind of waiting for you. And the guy behind him, kind of eyeing down, looking like he's bit off a little bit more than he can chew. He essentially extends out his hand and retracts the orb. And so the hard light prism kind of, or the little pieces, little shards that are projecting that light kind of come back in and kind of reform into a sphere in his hand. And he kind of puts it into the little pocket within his cloak. And then looking ahead, so it's you, Kriv, in the front, and then could you, Emrys and Donovan, where were you guys situated? Were you in front of the royal guards and the prince, or are you behind them?
Definitely in front of them, for me at least.
And with you, there are about 5 other guards, the royal guards that are kind of there. And so, with the Royal Ranger gone, he's kind of shouting orders in the background, and he's telling them to go around and flank from the sides. And they kind of take off running towards this archer. And he kind of looks around as they're approaching him, and they're about 20 feet away from him. And he kind of raises his hand to the sky. And that little sigil that was on his hand glows bright violet again. And this dark mist kind of erupts outward, and this kind of explosion of smoke kind of going against you guys. And I'd like everybody to make a strength saving throw.
Oh boy.
For the record, I hate you.
For the record, I hate you too. In the chat, or just say it?
You can just say it.
I don't really want to say it.
That would be a 5.
Okay.
Well, yeah, Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help.
Regular Inspiration.
What was yours, Ryan?
4.
4. Okay. Oh! Okay, so I did not mean to I totally said something that I did not mean. I said that I retracted the shield shards.
Mm-hmm.
Did not mean to say that. I don't know what I was thinking. You guys are essentially blown out of this force. It's kind of like those little Mario Kart like the little arrows that kind of push you forward. It's exactly like that. You get pushed back about 20 feet, and you get kind of zoomed out, and you guys take. Oh, Crib, what was yours? You probably passed, I'm guessing.
16 for crew.
Okay. Yeah, you passed. Okay. And you guys both failed, right?
Oh, so
Yeah, you say you passed?
if a 4 does.
Oh, no. Sorry.
I pass if a 5 does.
So you guys get
We fail together more.
pushed back by this explosion of this. It's kind of like if filaments of iron were just kind of pushed out, like a firm hand just kind of throwing you 20, 30 feet back, and that force was kind of further amplified by that, that force field push. And you go and you kind of skid and roll upon the ground, and you guys both take 12 plus 22, 27 points of bludgeoning damage as you kind of hit the ground with really hard force. And about, let's see, more taxes. Okay. And 3 out of the 5 guards get thrown back as well, back out into the fray, out where the Visari little bastards are. Okay. And so outside, seeing that the majority of the townsfolk, there are still some, but the majority of them have kind of run off. And so after seeing kind of their leader get ambushed, they kind of all look at once as if there's this loud signal that went off in their heads, and they all turn inward. And they focus on everything that's inside that little radius, and they go and swarm you guys. On the outside, not the inside. So what are your guys' ACs?
Oh, sorry, 17.
17? 15?
13.
13.
Holy cow.
Unless I had studded leather. If I've studded, it goes to 14.
Okay, so Ryan, you get dogpiled by 3 blades pierce you. And you take 7, 14. You take 19 damage. Molly, you said your AC was 17, correct?
Yes.
You get pierced by 2 blades, taking 13 damage.
You said I took how much?
You take 14, Ryan.
All right, I'm going to use one of my bardic inspirations to lessen that. So I take 10.
Okay.
And you said 13 damage?
For you, yes. And then some of the other guards also get kind of ambushed and cannibalized, and they kind of get into this melee, and one of the guards just gets, before he can recover, just gets 3 blades into his neck. And then the other 2 are kind of fending off the other, the various swarms that are kind of surrounding them. And now that that's done, so Kriv, you notice as the smoke clears, before you is only the sentinel, the armored titan, and the dark cloaked figure is nowhere to be seen in front of you. And so with that, it is Donovan's turn.
Yep. All right. So you said Archer Dude is gone.
Sorry, what was that?
Archer Dude is gone.
Yeah, he so to Kriv, yes. To you, probably not.
Okay. If I can see him, were we knocked prone by this blast? Probably.
How do you see it?
I would see it if I could roll an acrobatics check to stay on my feet. I would do that.
I like that. Do that.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, so that's a 16.
Yeah, you skillfully land on your feet, kind of tumbling along, kind of grabbing the ground to kind of anchor you and slow you down to a slow halt. And you and Ryan are about 30 feet away from the float.
All right. And from like I said before, his eyes were locked on this Viseri archer mage, and his
He's
eyes
not
were filled.
just quick.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
This this archer mage, and they never left him, even when he was tumbling from that blast, and even as his eyes through the chaos and like in the tumbling, he keeps his vision on him, and he tumbles to the ground. On the last roll, gets on his feet, immediately knocks back 2 arrows, and will fire them at the archer dude. He'll use a bonus action to disengage. He'll move about 10 feet back from these guys because they're on me, right?
Yeah. So quick addition to that. So
Yes.
I did say that the prism. I mistakenly said that I took the prism down, and that's not the case. You guys were kind of pushed out of the prism, so the prism walls are still there.
Got it.
Sorry about that. I don't know why I said that.
No, you're fine. So yeah, we're blocked. And so yeah. So if that's the case, then how many dudes are on top of me right now?
3.
3? All right. And so yeah. So with that the case, Donovan immediately tumbling up, he would take these blades as he's tumbling, and I see more of them coming through him, and he just dodges backward just barely. These blades rolls back as it disengage. You see a blade come through trying to strike him as he throws back again with his bow out at the 2 in front of him, or 2 of them, and one sorry son of a bitch got crit, and the other one got hit. Do you want me to roll damage?
No.
All right. Yeah, so they just take arrows. They go one of them goes clean to the forehead. The one that got crit, the arrow literally just goes through the head of one of them. And they're actually in the motion to go swing at him again before they even realize that they're dead, and they just fall forward, flat into the ground.
Roll me a percentile die.
Gotcha. That'd be 42.
Okay. So the critical arrow that you had, it just so happened that the heads were quite aligned in an unfortunate manner, and as it kind of went through the head of one, it kind of went through the head of the other, and all 3 of the guys were surrounding you in the blink of an eye. They were on top of you, they were surrounding you, they were cutting into you. In the blink of an eye, they just go limp.
All right, and Donovan moving forward, like as he sees this, he only moved about 10 feet back, or when he disengaged from these guys, he looks up. I guess maybe he does a quick side glance to Actually, no, he would not. My bad. Yeah, like I said, even as he was shooting these guys, his eyes were on the archer mage, and he would move forward. Trying to move towards the hard light to try and get back in it.
Okay. So you were blown 30 feet back. You moved 10 feet back, and you moved 20 feet forward.
Yes.
Okay. So you are 20 feet away.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I bonus action disengage, so I can't dash.
Gotcha. Okay. Emrys. So you were surrounded by 2 Visari warriors. And you were about like 10 feet away. Like you guys are equidistant from the float. And you're about 10 feet away from each other, like the space between you guys. So what would you like to do?
No idea.
Would you like me to go to Logan and then come back to you? What?
Logan. Did you see him?
No.
He was like,
Oh. Sorry, I'm looking at some DM goodies.
Can I drink a potion as my interact with object?
Should be able to.
Like I do in my games.
Should we? I'm gonna say it's a bonus action to drink a potion.
Rip my bonus action economy.
If you want, I can have the bad guys go, and then we can go back to you.
All right, no, I'm good. All right. So as he's been thrown back out of this sphere, and he begins to roll. As he's tumbling, he turns invisible. As I use greater invisibility.
Shit. All right.
And then I'm going to use my bonus action to drink the potion, and I will move away from these enemies.
Okay. What direction do you want to move? You want to move towards the float? Do you want to move away from the float?
I'll move towards the float.
Okay. And they have no idea where you are. They have no idea.
Visible for a minute.
And it's not even a concentration spell, is it?
It is concentration.
Oh.
Sadly.
that's some big boy invisibility right there.
I hate big boy
So
invisibility.
you drank a potion and we don't know what it does? And then you cast greater invisibility?
Yeah, I casted greater invisibility, and while I was invisible, I drank the potion.
Ah.
I mean, you know what the potion does. It's a healing potion.
Oh.
So I said I had my 2 potions in chat earlier. I
All
had
right.
1 each.
Cool.
Right.
Okay. So Logan. It's now time for you to roll me a charisma saving throw.
Okay. A charisma saving throw.
Yes.
So
You want me to describe it? Like what happens? Then you can
sure.
do your response. So it's imagine this force kind of tries to kind of stick like a knife into this mental castle that is your brain, that is your will, and it's trying to impose its will on you. And through kind of like, if there was like the mortar of like your castle, as it kind of like just barely like made its way through, it says, "Fight me."
I mean, you don't have to ask.
So what you're saying is he totally wasted his action.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I choose to fail the save.
Okay. So as he kind of hears your call to battle, he got into his defensive stance, and so this might change your decision to fail. He basically went into total defense with his action.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So that means that you have disadvantage on attack rolls against him.
Not if I reckless attack, which I'm about to do.
All right.
We bringing it, boys.
Boy, because as I
going
choose to fail that saving throw, I also enter rage.
I can see that. That's
you.
a pretty awesome time to go into rage.
As you've now pried underneath my
Mental castle.
sensitive scales. No doubt in the chat. So yeah. So this was the Sentinel in front of me, right?
Yes.
I just want to ask, who else is in this float?
So there's 2 other guards that were not thrown out. the prince is directly like he's kind of like at his little throne chair thing. He's about 40 feet away from you.
From me. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the sentinel is right in front of you. That prism is still up. And you have the two guards. We'll say they're about 20 feet away from you, kind of like at a diagonal. And in the middle of the float, kind of 20 feet behind you, if you were to look back, I don't know if you do or not, but would be the cloaked guy. I want to call him by his name, but I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like triangle. At the two bottom vertices of the triangle are the two guards that were kind of pushed back, but weren't thrown out. And in kind of like the middle, 20 feet away from them, 20 feet away from you is him. And then 20 feet past. Yeah, okay, you got it.
Yeah. Criv's pissed off at this thing now. Sorry, guys. Rip the prince. So those were reckless attacks to negate your disadvantage.
Okay.
27 and a 23.
Both hit. Excuse me.
And that will be, that's a 23, 40 damage. That's adding in the extra 4 damage from rage, 2 on each attack. And let's throw in a level 1 smite. Because I can. What do you think about that?
What's the total?
43!
Okay. 23. So many taxes. So little time. Okay. So the effect of your attack is that you essentially sunder his armor with the force of the blow and the smite. Kind of wherever you decided to hit him, you kind of the armor is just split and there's like this gaping like tear in the armor.
Yeah.
Just from the sheer force of that, of the weight of it, and then also the smite of it.
Yeah, I see the rage as like the first attack, in going into rage as an overhand, just like smashing, opening, making a weakness in this armor, and then repeating the smash again with a smite to bring it down in a cleaving style.
And were you aiming at the head? Or
the head, neck area, absolutely.
Okay. And so as you kind of, I think with your final kind of head swing down, the armor that is his helmet kind of cracks apart. And it kind of reveals this horribly disfigured face. Where his eyes should be is just hollow sockets. Mm-hmm. Where his nose should be is just like if you took a dissection of the nose and just cut it perpendicular along the face. Where his ears should be, the external structures of his ears are totally cut away.
Does this look like a humanoid?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's left of one, at least.
Okay, so I wasn't sure, like, when you introduced him, I thought it was like a summoned creature. I didn't know if it was like a character or just like a steel titan, you know what I mean?
Yeah, your best guess when it was a large human at one point. You don't know what it is now.
Okay.
You've never...
I will say if it's any type of fiendish, then I get an extra D8.
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Not a fiend.
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah. I appreciate your gumption, though. Okay. Now it's my turn. I hate doing my turn because there's so much to do on my turn.
Gotta love being the DM.
I should have just split it up into anyway, doesn't matter. Okay, so the scene before you guys, I'm going to go inside the sphere. You know what? Let's do outside the sphere first, and then I'm going to go inside. Okay, so Donovan, kind of surrounding you, the last of the crowd has essentially run off, and your passive perception's at 22. So even though there's a lot going on, I still feel like you would still see this. Kind of everywhere there are bodies littered, and the ground is slick with blood. People still cry out and clutch their limbs and hold their wounds and are tender. Children, elderly, man, woman, all of them seamlessly slaughtered. And that same stench and that same yell kind of pervades the atmosphere surrounding you. And as you make your way to run towards the float, the two that were following Emrys, kind of dumbfounded, look around for a second, kind of blindly slashing the air around it, just trying to blindly, hit him. But they're far off the mark. Far off the mark. And the ones that had engaged the soldiers, they're in this deadlock battle. And that leaves about 3 of the Visari, and they're all kind of coming at you all at once. And they're running towards you as you kind of run towards their direction. And I'm going to describe what happens next on your turn. I don't know exactly what you're going to do, so I'm going to wait until kind of we're going to go in tandem just for like kind of like a cinematic moment, because I feel like it'll be kind of cool. So I'm going to put that on hold. Just remind me if I forget. Going back to the inside, we're going to start with you, Kriv, at this monstrosity that's before you. Down to a significantly damaged state. It kind of throws away its shield, and it grasps its spear in 2 hands. And it lets out this disgusting bellow. Just soul. To anybody else, it'd be soul-wrenching. To you, it's just annoying.
I'm imagining like a half ogre with this like nose chopped off, kind of,
eyes, socket, just sockets, no ears, no tongue, just this pure beast. And he kind of slices and dices with this strange finesse. And so you reckless attack, so that I have advantage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it. Okay, so 27, not crit, and a 19. Does a 19 hit you?
I have a 19 AC.
Okay.
Lower that second roll by 7. As you hear a
Okay.
voice in your head telling you to miss.
Ooh.
Okay.
And I use a bardic inspiration there.
I see this is like the wind in Rick and Morty. That's literally how. Okay, that's how I'm gonna envision all of your vicious mockeries for the future. Not that that was one, but like.
And Logan, you haven't been injured to this point, correct?
I have not.
Okay. So, as he shoves this spear, god dang it, this spear into you, you take 30 points of piercing damage.
Okay.
And the second blow kind of comes around.
I'm just gonna go ahead.
And he goes to like strike you kind of in the same spot, kind of like what you did to him. This weird dissonance in his head, kind of like similar to like the mental castle. As he goes to like pierce it again, just something causes him to just twitch ever so slightly and hit just stone cold rock. And it just glances off your armor like a chump.
All right.
And he brings it back around for one final slash, like an overhead chop. And you said 19 was your AC?
Indeed.
Okay. And kind of rebounding from this miss, using the momentum to kind of do this weird circular slash in the air. He does, freaking whip or rip. He does 3 + 3 + golly. He does 12 points of damage.
All right. So that's the first one was 30 or 33?
30, and then the next one was 12.
So
Yes.
42, and I'm just going to let you know.
You're raging.
I am raging, correct. So yes, you land these blows. against Kriv. Stalwart before you.
And that's how he ends his turn. And so, going back to this fun little archer guy, the two of them kind of charge, coming from each side of him. And as they kind of go and kind of shove their pikes, both going into his body, he just walks nonchalantly towards the king. And the pikes just go straight through him as if he wasn't even there. And they kind of pierce both of the guards in the neck as they fall to the ground as he just slowly strolls up to the prince. And he summons in his left and right hand these two dark black blades. And he begins having them scrape upon the ground. And he's about 10 feet away from the king. Or the prince, sorry, not the king. Okay. It is now, finally, Donovan's turn. So Donovan, last we left you, we had these three Visari coming at you. So my question to you is, are you going to ignore them and try to go for the prism, or are you going to engage them and go for still try to go for the prism type of a thing?
Donovan sees the archer mage walking forward with these black blades because his eyes haven't left him. Even now, he doesn't care for these things. They're paltry, like they're nothing. He can take them out, but he doesn't want to waste the time, the fraction of a second that he might need in order to save his king. And he's going to bonus action dash as well as move. So that's going to be 60 feet. And
you're within 20 feet, Molly, just so FYI, of the float.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I would move forward. I dash forward the 30 feet. If I need the extra movement, I'll dash to get on top. I'm ignoring these guys. I basically want to get in front of my king as this guy walks nonchalantly towards him.
So just for kind of summary, you're evading these guys, not disengaging, but just kind of running through them, and you're jumping onto the float.
Yes.
Okay, and so just you would clearly see this. There is that prism of hard light is exuding out. So just FYI, that's still there.
Yeah.
Okay, and your plan is to jump kind of into it.
Yes.
Okay.
He's not thinking of any kind of repercussion or anything. He's thinking, I have to protect my king.
Okay. So what I want you to do is, I'd like you to, if you use your dash action,
yes,
I will allow you to attempt to try to penetrate this prism with just sheer force of will and kind of just strength. But in doing so, I want you to, instead of me rolling attacks against you, I want you to add your AC as kind of like your base is like 10 or your 8. And so add whatever it is like to your current AC and use that as kind of like a dodge. So kind of like 3 subsequent saving rolls. And I make this with the preface that if they hit you, they will crit you.
That's fine.
Okay. So
you said to roll a D8 and add it to my AC?
So what's your AC?
My AC is 17.
Okay. So it's a +7, or is it a +9? For is your base AC 8 or is it 10?
10.
Yeah. So add 7 to these rolls. And tell me what you get.
I'm rolling?
Yes.
To them? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm rolling with their to hit my AC.
Just roll and add +7.
Okay.
It'll all be clear.
Okay. So 9, 16, and 21.
Okay. Only the first one hits you. And it does 12. It does 35 points of damage to you as you kind of recklessly charge ahead and kind of jump into this prism. And so now I want you, however you see yourself forcing your way through, whether it's through force of will, whether it's through force of body, however you kind of see it, roll that saving throw and tell me what you get.
All right. This would definitely be force of will.
Yeah. And then also remember you do have bardic inspiration, so don't forget about that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay.
All right, and I'm going to add bardic inspiration to that. All right, so that is going to be. You know what? No, I'm going to use my point of inspiration as well.
Okay.
All right.
You can still use that. Whatever you rolled from the previous bardic inspiration, just roll over. This is a very hard DC.
Okay. Glad you let me reroll. That would be 23.
The DC was 22.
Oh God!
Thank you, resilient wisdom.
My throat.
Oh my God!
Wow.
And bardic inspiration.
I'm so
Inspired.
Okay.
That is yes.
Okay, Molly. You get in front of the king. Don't know how. Don't know why. Somehow, some way, you make your way through.
That intense 35 points of pain, though.
Yeah, just like it.
Just imagine if you were crit more than once.
Yeah.
Beautiful job, Molly. Well done. Okay. Amorous. Last we left you, you were invisible. And somewhere we don't know. What do you want to do?
So what is this mage guy doing?
He's essentially taunting his prey right now. He's standing, dual wielding these black swords at his side. And he's standing about 10 feet from the king, and kind of 5 feet in between him is this panting, bleeding Donovan.
Right.
And then behind him, about another 30 or so feet, is Kriv, who's in this fierce battle with this hulking figure in his titanic armor.
There is literally a finish him above this guy's head for Kriv.
Alright. So you can't see Emrys, but he's pulling out his flute and he's hoping this new spell he's been working on actually works and that he's able to perform it correctly. As he casts at 6th level, Otto's Irresistible Dance on the mage.
Okay, so before you use this spell slot, I'd like you to do the same thing where you did last time, as you're kind of penetrating through this shield. So if you fail, I'm not gonna. You don't use the spell slot, but you don't cast the spell. It doesn't make its way through.
I got you.
Yeah.
You said it's a charisma save?
Yeah, whatever your spellcaster modifier is, that's the save.
I use my inspiration for a crit, because 3 suck.
Okay.
I agree.
So explain to me what this thing does.
Choose one creature that you can see within range. The target becomes a comic dance in place, shuffling, tapping its feet, and capering for the duration.
Okay,
You are
that's
now
my DC.
You don't get a save until your turn, and on your turn you have to use your action to make a save.
Okay.
And you have no move speed. You use all your move dancing.
Gotcha.
And you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws and attack rolls. And other creatures have advantage on attack rolls against you.
The monkey wrench has been thrown.
Yeah.
Dance, monkey, dance.
So when it's my turn, what's the save that I have to beat?
You can beat Wisdom saving throw, DC 17, using
Okay.
your action.
Gotcha.
And you will use your move action to dance in place.
Okay. Anything else?
I see Donovan down on his luck and reappearing. A little Donovan to finish this mage with my last bardic inspiration
Okay.
to renew his lost one.
And now, young Kriv.
Oh my god, sorry. Welcome to level 11. Yeah, so Kriv sees, like I said, a giant finish him above this creature in front of him. And finish him is what he plans to do. So as
You can try.
you can try, there are lots of cool bonus action things, but I'm not going to use them. As a bonus action, Kriv swings back his axe, and in this draconic voice, he says, "Zahar!" And his axe flames, as this means suffering in draconic, and he brings it down on his enemy. $18 to hit.
Yeah, because he went into his offensive stance, he lost his shield, and therefore
Yes.
his AC turned to 18. It's exactly what you needed.
And fire damage. That's going to be 22 plus 5, 27 points of damage
Okay.
on the first hit.
You got a follow up?
I do. I'm asking you.
All right. Give me the follow up.
Okay. Oh, and smite.
Okay.
Sorry.
So you said 27, correct? So let's see how many points
32.
you need.
That brings it to a 32. A level 1 smite.
Tell me how you make this man mincemeat.
Yeah! No, I'm freaking not. Hold on. What level you get 2d8 for that?
1.
What?
First level is 2d8.
Holy crap. All right. All right. All right. All right. Yeah. So 4 more to that. Appreciate the call out, Molly.
What do you say?
Yeah. So Kriv in his rage is, I mean, you know, his last turn was this hack, and then smash as he shatters this helmet, and is just kind of in this red rage, completely not trying to defend himself, but 100% on the offense. He's stuck a couple times by his enemy, but he brings another twirl around with this flaming axe, commanding his axe to make his enemy suffer, and beheads the enemy in front of him.
His head goes pinwheeling comically off into the distance.
And is it like shot out like a cannon from the force? Like, does it hit the like?
So
wall?
are you side swiping, up swiping, or how do you see it?
Let's go with
Is
a
it like a
side
baseball swing, or
Like
is it
ball swing? Yeah.
okay? Describe to me the grand slam that is this swing.
That's precisely what happens. As I hit basically a home run.
Is this a flaming skulls of our enemies
The
moment?
flaming skull of my enemy is shot towards the force wall and projected out across, splattering civilians with this whatever color blood.
Nearby, off in the distance, a good
Yes,
2
it is.
miles away.
A flaming skull of my enemy. That's right.
Elisari, gets up from the wreckage of the battle, only to be clobbered by a flaming skull.
That's right.
And explodes on contact with this holy fire.
Oh my god, that was great. So I have an extra attack left in my round, and as I turn around, seeing red, I notice a dancing robed figure with I can't even say, with two vicious looking black blades. I can't help myself. And I take off towards the only enemy left in my vicinity.
Hey, Ryan. What's the effect on reactions?
You still have reactions,
Perfect.
There you go.
but you do have disadvantage on attack rolls.
That's fine.
You have a way out. So yeah,
You're within striking distance. You're within 30 feet of him.
that's what I'm gonna do. Take your reaction.
Oh, so you don't see any. So I was just asking for curiosity, not for any use whatsoever.
Okay. Like, are you ready? Are you good?
I'm ready.
I'm gonna hit or try. And this is gonna be reckless because YOLO. I think, yeah, I used my bonus action already. Let's do the reckless for the crit. No crit, but that's a 26 to hit.
Yeah, that hits.
And this is going to be the final level 2 spell that I have. That is a level 2 smite. That will be how many d8s, Molly? 3?
3.
Thanks, Molly. You're the real paladin. 2d6. Dude, I get to roll a whole bunch of dice for this. I love it. Reroll ones. Yes! That'll be 10 plus 12 is 22 plus 8, 30 plus 13 is 43 plus 3 is 46 points of level 2 smiting. Get the F back to hell, you son of a whore.
What's the total?
43. What did I say 43, right?
Okay.
You forgot to add damage to the end of that sentence.
Of damage.
There you go.
Okay.
That felt really good, guys. I'm just like, that felt so good. That
That made me sad on the inside.
100% catharsis.
I will say, Kriv, as you slice your way through him, however it was that you sliced him, something feels weird. You can't put your finger on it, but your senses that have been honed over hundreds of battles sense that something's afoot.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, I don't expect to hit this guy.
Okay. You do know that you did do damage, though. You felt the blood. You felt the blade go through.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
So just to clarify there.
My weapon's magical, and I'm doing smite damage. Just saying.
Okay. So, Ryan,
Yes, sir.
after the first damage, if I fail, is it a concentration thing, or what is it? Or is it just until I break free?
It is until you break free on your turn as an action.
Okay, I was just curious.
You shall continue to dance.
And so on the outside stands 3 little lonely Vasari with no one to... Oh, wait. There is someone to kill. They turn unanimously to the Royal Ranger, whose right hand is just blown clean off, and they smell blood, and they rush him. Hit. All right, all 3 hit. Although he makes valiant efforts with his left hand, it's just too awkward, too many onslaughts at the same time, and they all make their mark, slicing into him as he lets out another cry of pain as he falls to his knees, bleeding as these 3 blades stick into him from 3 various sides, and you see the little pools of blood begin to drop from the corners of his mouth as he kind of has this 1,000-yard stare off into the distance. And he kind of in slow motion looks to Donovan, and I don't know if Donovan sees him or not.
He doesn't.
And he whispers something. And then falls face first into the ground. So, Molly, I would like for you to roll his death saving throws. So, go ahead. So, on a death saving throw, is it when it's his turn, the next round, or is it immediately upon you going down, you roll a death saving throw?
1 immediately, and then 1 on his turn. And then the Armaco gets a fail if you do damage to him.
Oh, well, I mean, technically, it's about to be his... They're in the same round, so technically it's his turn anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Never mind. So for future reference, it's on the person's turn after they've fallen. Is that the case?
And as soon as they go down.
But not so like if it's like, you know, if it, let's just say it's Molly's turn, he goes down on the bad guy's turn, then it's Molly's turn again. Would he have to roll twice, or is he just roll once?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know, because it seems kind of unfair that you have to roll twice in one round.
I never really thought. Hold on, we'll just check it real quick.
For right now, just for this, because it's not really super important, I'm just gonna say
it's very important
roll on his turn.
It is very important, and I rolled a 3. Thank you very much.
So death saving throws. Whenever you start your turn with 0, you make a special. So you don't make it immediately, by the way, guys.
Okay, perfect.
Just so y'all know for the rest of forever.
Yeah.
You do not make it immediately. You make a special saving throw called a death saving throw to determine whether you creep closer to death.
Okay. So for this instance, yeah, no worries. For this instance, it doesn't matter because it was about to be his turn. So it's kind of moot for this point, but it is important for the future because, you know, that would be kind of, you know, not great.
Might change things a little bit.
Yeah. And then also, I'll talk to you guys with this about the game, or if one of you guys go down, we'll have a conversation real fast about a quick, like, little thing. But for right now, doesn't matter. So you said 3.
Yeah, I rolled a 3.
So you kind of, in his delirium, he still sees you fighting valiantly with a dancing ass hat. and just that sight allows him to hold on.
Oh my God.
But it's waning. Okay. So now it's my turn. DC 17. You say wisdom?
That's you, Ryan.
Wisdom?
I closed it. Yes, wisdom.
And you said it was a 17.
Yes.
If only you had said charisma, he would have failed. He passes with exactly a 17. Okay, so his action is gone, though.
And his move speed.
And his move speed is gone.
And he now knows that he's a great tap dancer.
His latent abilities is yeah, okay. Anyway. Okay. Moving upon his reaction.
Level is paralyzed.
Logan, he kind of like with that blow, I like to see it as it kind of awakes him from whatever the hell that just was. And as soon as that energy, the kinetic energy of your upswing and the kind of holy fire kind of makes contact with him, that all of that power kind of flows into this ring that he has on his right hand. And so, Ryan, do you say I have disadvantage to attack this turn, or is it only when I'm dancing? Actually, no. Sorry, it's not an attack. It's my reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind.
You are no longer affected by anything. You just don't have a regular action or a move action.
Gotcha. So, Logan,
Mhm.
I'd like you to either roll a dexterity or a constitution saving throw. Essentially, what's happening is he's reflecting this damage back to you in the form of this transfer of your energy. Still hurt him. It still damaged him, just so
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah, I got you.
Kind of
You're good.
returning the favor kind of right back at you. Kind of like Hellish Rebuke, but not quite.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to either roll a constitution saving throw or a dexterity saving throw, and I will make the preface that is a high DC.
Okay.
So
I'm
I don't
gonna
know
roll
if
a
you have
con.
bardic inspiration, but it might be one of those cases where you might want to roll it.
Didn't I already use it?
I don't know if Ryan gave you another one, so I was just
I
prefacing
don't
because
think
we always forget, and it's kind of unfair to the bards because that's like one of their huge
Oh,
things.
that's one of their yeah. I don't think I have it.
Okay.
Molly's the only one left, and I've used all 5 of mine.
Holy crap! How?
Cutting words twice,
Oh,
Dude, yeah, he's been saving bacon.
and then I've given Molly 2 and you 1.
Alright,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm pretty sure if he didn't give that bardic inspiration, Molly, things would be a very different fight.
Oh,
right now.
no doubt. No doubt.
Oh yeah, like I mean, on top of the other things that would have happened had he not, I wouldn't have made it through the.
That was so epic. I loved that moment.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway,
Thanks, Ryan.
back to my epic moment. Fuck you, Molly.
Oh,
I love it. Constitution or dexterity saving throw.
okay. Let me double check.
So either Constitution or dexterity.
Sorry, that's an 11 on the die, plus 3 is 14, plus my aura protection's 15.
Okay, the DC was an 18.
16.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
no
you
bardic
fail.
inspiration.
So you will take the full force of the damage you just dealt to him. So I believe that was 43.
All right.
Halved, but whatever. And I'd like you to roll a strength saving check to see if you get blown back.
Oh crap. Okay.
It's your strength, dude. Come on.
No, I just. So. All right.
Tell me what you get. DC is the same.
Yeah, I don't think I wait. Yeah, plus 4, 19.
Okay.
Holy
this-
crap, I get a lot of pluses for strength saving throws.
So this is what happens. Yeah, because you were raging.
Jeez.
Also-
Oh, it's even more than that then.
You get
Yeah.
advantage on them.
Why don't you say that, Molly?
Come on, bros.
Yeah, so yeah.
You're supposed to know this.
Molly, I've never played a barbarian. Screw you. What am I supposed to know this? Jeez, says the guy who played a barbarian last session. Ugh.
Yeah, Molly. Okay. So this is what happens. From the sheer amount of force that you put into your blow, it was massive. It was to this moment, it was your biggest damage dealing attack.
Indeed.
Imagine that force being directed back at you in full force. And so, although you make your strength saving throw, you do not get knocked back prone and you do not get knocked back the full distance. What happens is you take it like a champ. So he like kind of raises his hand, and this ring shoots off. This massive black aura just shoots out of it. Like a torrent of rushing water just gets shot back at you. And most men, legs probably would have broken. You get kind of pushed back. 55 divided by, okay, so that's, we'll just say 20 feet. But you're still on your feet.
Okay.
And he's kind of,
Yeah, I see it as like, kind of like a pushed back, but I'm still.
yeah, imagine a lot of
Forward.
screaming.
Yeah, a lot of screaming, and I'm kind of in like the tripod position, you know, with my axe in one hand and my other hand on the ground, kind of, you know,
Yeah,
that
and I
kinda
kind of
football
see this
tackle
all
position.
happen like instantaneously. Like as soon as you kind of like hit it, he kind of did the same thing. Like we put his palm upon your chest and just kind of let loose this force. It's just poof. And he was hoping for a little bit more of a show and hopefully knock you out of the ring. But hey, beggars can't be choosers. Okay, and with that, it is Donovan's turn. So Donovan, 5 feet in front of you is this not armored, this cloaked figure. This assassin. What would you like to do?
My king is directly behind me.
5 feet behind you.
5 feet behind me.
I feel like the king is just like,
Yep. Yeah. So from the king's vision, he sees this small man. How tall is this archer mage dude?
Good question.
roll for
I'd
it.
say probably around like 5'10". About a medium height, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right, but still, Donovan is a relatively short man, and
It's not short.
5'6", bro.
Fuck you.
From the king's vision, you see Donovan. He's way too close. He's way too close to use his bow. He feels like if he takes it out, the moment might be lost. He might miss, and he can't risk that. And from the king's vision, he'd see the head of the archer mage before him with these dual black blades, and you see Donovan take out a saber and a sax knife in his left hand, and he's like this, moving forward, blood dripping from multiple wounds. His mind is still boggled. It's like almost like a migraine, the force of will that it took to move through this barrier as in front of him. And he'll strike out with one of the blows. Well, actually, no, he won't. What he'll do, he's right there. He sees Kriv behind him, and basically what he's going to do is if this guy moves to attack his king or just like attack him, he is going to try and push him back, attack back, basically just complete retaliation whenever he tries to do, and he's going to ready his action for that.
Okay. Would you like to defer until the end of his turn, or would you like to prepare an action? So I'll give you a choice. So you can defer to the. So he moves before the king, but you'll be able to use your full action economy. Versus if I let you do a reaction, I'll let you protect the king at all costs, but you'll only get one attack. So you'll get a chance to kind of dodge in the way if he chooses to attack, but you'll only get your one action.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna take the option that allows me to react immediately. So.
Okay. Perfect. You stand on guard. Emrys, what do you do?
Do I see Sebastian go down?
You see him on the ground, looking towards the float, currently kind of like bleeding out, and you see 3 Visari kind of standing over him.
Are they like directly on top of them?
I mean, they just delivered like stabbing blows, and they just kind of pulled their swords out essentially, but they don't seem to be like going in for like an execution kill. It's more like sharks kind of circling around, just waiting for an opening to go and to aid, their leader.
Okay.
It's kind of like in Star Wars where that little Wall and Darth Maul and Qui-Gon are kind of like waiting on other sides like that. Except with ugly demon dude looking guys. Except they're not fiends. Sorry, Logan.
Aww.
We can talk later.
We'll talk later.
Can I drag him away from them?
How would you like to do that? You can do that, and you'll take 3 attacks of opportunity, unless you can, Oh, you're invisible, right? So I don't know how that works.
Came out of invisibility when I made him dance.
Okay. So, okay. I'll tell you what. Their focus is primarily on the battle ongoing. I'll let you roll a stealth. If you succeed, it'll be a pretty steep DC, but if you succeed, you can pull them away and do whatever you want. And that'll be like a bonus action type of a deal, and you still have your action.
I crit.
Okay, fuck you, but it's fine. Okay. So yeah, they're just enamored in this blood frenzy, just, kind of like running up and kind of like banging their faces against this, hard prism of light, just being constantly repelled, totally not aware of their surroundings. And you deftly, easily kind of move like a freaking panther in the night and grab him. And what do you want to do from there?
Dude, Emrys is straight out of Compton. He grew up on the streets.
So, for sure, though. Like, actually, that's true.
How far away can I get from these guys?
Where you're dragging, so.
Right.
We'll just be fair. We'll just be generous and say we'll go 15 feet.
All right. So I'm going to drag him 15 feet away. And then, as my action, I'm going to create a wall of fire around the 3 other guys.
Okay. So, would you like that to encompass the that prism, or only those 3 guys? Because they're kind of all within like 5 feet of each other.
I just want it centered on them 3 guys with them in the middle.
So it's kind of like you're crisping them, but not the actual like the float.
Right.
Okay. If you want to use that as a lower spell slot, so you don't waste a 4th level spell, because I'm pretty sure that's what it is, you feel free.
I'll do it 4th, that's fine.
Okay.
I still have other spell slots.
I got you. So can you describe how these guys get toasted alive as they're running into the little thing, just mad like rabid dogs?
So Emrys runs up there and he grabs Sebastian by like the collar and starts dragging him away. At the same time, he's muttering something under his breath, and from the ground, a wall of fire, a ring of fire, just rips up from the ground and around them.
Would you like to direct any of the flame damage at the prism?
So the way it works is, if I'm reading it right, it goes either inside the circle or outside the circle.
Okay.
I'm doing it inside the circle, so
okay.
If you're on the outside of it, you don't take any damage.
Gotcha. They are burns to ash.
And you said they died, or do I need to roll?
Yeah, they are burnt like
Sweet.
super crispy. Like not even the bones are left.
Man.
Yeah, it's like I'm literally seeing like just a ring of fire, just start to like form, and then a literal dome of flame that just collapses in on itself, and then it's just ash.
Mm-hmm. And then they are
Kristana, where you at?
She ain't this one.
Okay. Young Krivenin.
Oh, crap.
Krivnerin.
He's like, I have a turn.
I've been having so much fun listening
Watching,
to characters that...
So just to set the scene before you, you see the prince behind Donovan, who's in this ready-to-go stance, and the assassin essentially kind of just like force pushed you, kind of like in that same stance. And it's kind of like he's gone kind of lateral, looking at kind of both of you at the same time. And it's just kind of waiting. Basically, you go first, essentially, I guess. So, whatever.
Yeah, so
You're about 20 feet away. Sorry,
Kriv kind of in this like pushed back in this tackle football stance. Oh, Molly's gonna miss it.
Wow.
Wow.
If you want, we can take a bathroom break, food break.
I
water
would
break.
like for Molly not to miss it.
Okay. Let's all reconvene in about 2 to 3 minutes.
All right.
Can we do like 5? I'm gonna take Astro out real quick.
Okay, 5 minutes sounds good.
Bothering me.
All right. Okay. See you guys in a bit.
Thank you.
Wait, did everyone take a break? Okay.
Freaking moly.
Mm.
Trying to leave right when Kriv goes to do something.
I have been holding it for like an hour.
Can't just ditch a bro like that.
It was only like 30 seconds. Y'all sure decided to take that break quick though. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you said BRB 1 minute, and I was fixing to like go up against this boss dude. I'm like, okay, no, can like Molly be here?
Sorry.
I'm really hoping that there is some lightning and stuff going on that I didn't expect. So I'm hoping I'll lose freaking power again or some nonsense.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, I'm tired.
It's been going so good though.
Yes.
Yeah.
What it has, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit rough first going.
Okay.
But
Literally
once we got into the combat, it's been a lot of fun since then. And I also enjoyed the tavern interaction.
Yeah, I thought that was
it's a bit redundant to go there and then go back, then go there, then go back, then come back. But it's all good. It's like learning to ride a bike, but you've had Alzheimer's and you sometimes remember, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days.
It was a little like wonky, and it still will be once we get back into
It's one guy versus three, but whatever.
Interaction. But like, it's nice when you've got mature D&D players that even when there's like a prolonged silence, we know that the people that are acting are just like gathering their thoughts for a second. There's no need to be like, ooh, awkward, or it's like I'm trying to figure out, lol.
Yeah.
50.
Did you see it?
It's like I'm trying to figure out what my character would do next, and there's an actual in-game silence, so there's no reason to be like, ooh, awkward.
And to answer you, Ryan, yes, of course we saw it, and I hate you.
It only mattered if you saw it.
I didn't see it. I don't even know what it is.
Mac and cheese.
Not just mac and cheese, Velveeta mac and cheese.
Same
Okay.
way.
All right.
So when last we left our heroes, Kriv was standing about 20 feet away from an assassin in black. And it's his move.
And it's my move. Kriv looks up, ready to charge at the hooded figure. And he says, "Enemy of the Platinum King, I vow that your death will be painful." As he casts Vow of Enmity on his opponent and charges him. Smart. Like Paladin's favorite word. Okay, we're gonna roll with advantage. This is not reckless. 24 to 27.
Yes.
That's a 12 on the D12. That'll be 24 plus. So that's 40 plus 48 for both smites. 52 plus 65 damage, and I can't do math. Ugh. That could have been better, but that's what I do.
Okay. Let me do some taxes real fast. So this is what happens. He's cleaved in two, literally, from your blow. Two bodies emerge from one.
Okay.
One going far to the left, one going far to the right. And they kind of tumble, and they both kind of get up, kind of woozy, and you see on one, the left eye is purple, and on the other, the right eye is purple. You see them, and one has the left blade, and the other has a right blade. Oh, but they sear at you.
Sear away.
Sear is not a word, but it's all good.
At least. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to rain tonight. I'm glad I went biking. Literally, it was forecasted sunny for like the next 2 days.
Okay. So this is what happens. The one on the right raises his hand to you, Kriv, and he lets loose this jet of black fire. And he says, I hope you're ready to die for your false god. And he unleashes a torrent of black flame. I'd like you to roll a dexterity saving throw.
And as he does, he says, wouldn't be the first time. $17.
The DC was an 18.
Okay.
Okay. You take... Oh, the taxes are so good on this one. Okay, Logan, you ready?
I was born ready.
So this is magic. But just FYI, I don't think your rage counts this in half.
It depends what kind of magic damage it is.
It's black fire. It's fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't.
You take...
The red dragonborn.
Oh, I am a red dragon, though.
There you go. So is that resistance or
Yeah.
something?
I have resistance to fire.
So what does that mean for me?
It just tell me the damage is halved.
Okay.
Just tell me it, and I'll.
I hate you. It's ice. He sends out black ice.
He
Okay,
sends
so-
out black ice instead.
It was going to be 66 points of sweet, sweet damage.
That's good.
But now it's 33. And conversely,
Thank you, sir. May I have
Cool.
another?
the one on the left turns to the prince. He raises his left hand, and you see a surge from his left eye go all the way down his arm. Kind of this static electric energy kind of pulsating in between each of his fingers, forming that same blackish, purplish flame. And I hope you burn in hell. And he unleashes the same attack, but this time at the king. So I believe this triggers your ready to action, Mole. So you have the chance to jump in front of this attack.
Donovan with thunder raging in the background immediately jumps in front of the attack to protect his king.
Okay.
Cut. Arms out like that. Just trying to cover the blast.
This is going to be a pretty brutal one. So I want you to roll me a dexterity saving throw. If you fail, I'm going to double the damage. If you succeed, you take normal damage. Are you still want to do this?
Of course.
Okay.
For the king.
He's 18.
And I'll add Bardic Inspiration. Oh, wait. Do I know the DC?
18.
I still need it. All right. So with Bardic Inspiration, without it, it would have been a 17. But with it, it is a 22.
Okay. So you take full damage instead of twice damage. And that is a whopping total.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Damage. Wow, rolled low on that one. As you get seared with this black flame, this unholy, unrighteous black flame. And then the one on the left, he charges towards the king Molly. After he kind of unleashed his kind of like little firebolt, whatever it is, he kind of goes with his sword kind of in hand, running towards, and he's beginning his assault. And Logan, the same thing's happening to you, but the one on the right instead. Okay. And with that, Donovan, it's your turn.
How much damage did I
40.
take?
40.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear.
Sorry.
All right. So yeah, Donovan takes this blast head on, and while trembling slightly, he stands and gets in his combat position. Even though he can feel the just intense pain of these searing burns all across his body, but he's done his duty. He's protected his king, and he's moving towards the king.
Yeah.
Or towards the prince.
With his blade in hand. And then also in tandem, the same one is approaching Kriv.
All right. All right. What do you consider it to
Oh, wait a
switch?
second. Molly, roll a death saving throw for Sebastian.
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Good catch. That one, though, he's dead. Wah, wah,
You
wah.
can see it. It's a 1.
As the lightning.
The DM cackles maniacally.
Oh, Ryan's like, I wasted my whole turn for that, man.
Okay. This is what happens.
He died a hero.
In his last moments, as his eyes were kind of filling with the blood from his wounds, he sees from the force of the last blast, both Kriv's blast and also the flame blast that just kind of got shot. The mask that was underneath that hood was kind of just blown away. And it reveals the face of someone that he knew very intimately. And then he, in his kind of like last moments, you see tears streaming from his eyes. As he mouths words, these kind of incoherently as blood starts gushing up. And Emrys, if you saw his face, it was of pure anguish and heartbreak as he kind of reaches his hand out in this pure agony, and then he goes limp in your arms. And Donovan, you also know this face really well, and it might shock you. You thought this man to be dead. He fought valiantly in a battle, not with the Vasari, but with a similar evil, kind of along your same vein of, as you were kind of trekking out and finding the remnants of her corruption. It was during one of those moments when you guys first discovered the widow's kind of influence, and in that battle, you remembered one ranger valiantly dying in order for the mission to succeed. And that is the son of Sebastian Voss, one fellow. And he stands before you, very much alive, and with hate seething through his eyes, gazing at the king, or at the prince, sorry. And he's still kind of coming at you.
All right. And as he's coming, and as you see the camera kind of zoom in on Donovan as this realization hits him, his eyes widen, and it moves back to the face of Sebastian's son moving forward. But then we hear the knock of 2 arrows. He says, not knowing that Sebastian has died, I'm sorry. He will let loose both of them. And the second one will be a crit.
Of course it does.
Because I'm a champion and I get crits on 19.
Okay.
All right. For the first one, that is not a crit. That'll be 23. And for the second one, that is a crit. That'll be 40.
Okay.
So 63 points of damage in all.
So, describe to me how you stopped this man dead in his tracks.
The first arrow plunges directly into his chest, and in the second before the second arrow was loose, does Donovan see anything on his face change, or is it still just that blinding hatred?
Seething hatred, pure and through.
And so Donovan, with a kind of fierce melancholy, lets the second arrow fly. It plunges straight into his skull.
And he just kind of, the momentum carries him forward with like his blade skirting along the kind of the floor of the float, and it kind of comes to a screeching halt at your feet. And you can still see a little life left in him as he is reeling from the pain and blood exit various orifices. He's still crawling at your feet with that same seething hatred in his eyes. But he's losing his strength. Anything else you do?
I look down at him. Again with this melancholic expression. And knock another arrow. and I can't attack, so that's it.
I got you. Beautiful moment, Molly. Okay. Emrys. In your hands lies a limp body hanging loosely, with blood kind of drenching into your, I would assume would be fancy embroidered silk maybe, or whatever you're wearing. And you can feel the life as it leaves his body. What do you do?
All right. So as I feel his life force leaving him, I lay him on the ground and I place my right hand over his chest. And in a language he's never spoken before or has barely ever heard, he says, "By Bahamut's blessing and the healing powers of Kitref, the Sapphire Dragonborn, give thee, Sebastian Ornfellow, life." And the draconic marks on his arms begin to like flow down and off his arm and into the body of Sebastian as I cast Revivify.
So what does Revivify do? I don't think I've ever been in a case where I've ever seen Revivify being used.
You got 1 minute to bring him back.
If you die in the last minute, you return to life with 1 hit point.
Okay. He kind of feebly opens his eyes. His wounds close just enough for him to not die. And he's kind of disoriented, just kind of babbling incoherently, grasping at your shoulder, and just kind of just broken.
And through his blurry vision, he would see Donovan with an arrow knocked as his son is crawling on the ground towards him.
And you would also see his hand outstretched once more, mouthing no, but he doesn't make a sound.
Right. And at the same time, as he's doing this, a wave of healing comes from him and from his words. As I cast, what is it? Healing word.
Okay.
On me, Sebastian, and my 2 allies.
Mm.
And everybody gets 6 hit points back.
Okay.
It's the only bonus action healing spell.
How did you...
It's a bonus action.
Nothing.
Nice. All right. Kriv. It is your turn.
What do I see?
You see an assassin with, I believe, his right eye burning this violet purple color, and his left one kind of devoid of all light. Just kind of a black, dead eye, and kind of.
I mean, he's technically right next to me, right? Like he cleaved.
Oh, he's like 5 feet in front of you. Yeah, like he's like in mid lunge essentially.
For
you.
me.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Let's do it. Mid lunge for me. Yeah, which one is in the vow now? Both of them, son. It will be painful. Let me make sure I don't have any other bonus action to. Because bonus action economy, right? Why do I have that? No. And nope. I don't think so. That's an action. Screw that. Let's do it. Come on for the crit. No crit. But that's a 29 and a 22 to hit.
They both hit.
Okay. I only have one smite left, one level 1 smite left, so I'll do that one first. It's max on the die. And 15 plus 24, 30, so that's 39. That's 42 on the first hit. And the second one is...
The second one's irrelevant.
Okay.
He dies in one swing. Could you describe this blow?
It's
And
painful.
what happens?
Yeah, so this one is kind of like Kriv goes for a low sweep to kind of meet his leg at the knee, chopping it from underneath him, sending him down onto his knees and raising it for a decapitation.
Do so. Finish him. Finish him.
And
Finish
I
him.
do. As he kind of erupts in a display of fiery vengeance. As my vow is now fulfilled. Just saying.
Well, that was quick. Should have vowed maybe 5 rounds ago.
I only got to hit him for 2 rounds.
Nice. Yeah, fair enough.
So, and the first time I already had a bonus action cast for something else because bonus action economy it's a tough life for a paladin.
And with that, it's my turn. So he stands there, or he lays there, bleeding, dying, face at the boot of the Ranger Donovan. But still, as if through unwavering tenacity, he with his right hand on his blade, he lifts and pushes on his blade as he makes a foot, half a foot, quarter of a foot, and he's just inching along. And Molly, he raises his hand one last time, and I'll give you the chance to interrupt him. So, what do? He's raising his hand, the same one that he used to singe off a good part of you. And you can see his energy starting to cackle down his eye, down to his arm. As you can see the right side of his face begin to droop, and his right eye goes dead, and his right arm falls limp, and his right leg useless. The energy grows very, very slowly. It's still like in a little static electricity phase.
Yeah. For just a moment, Donovan's mind flashes back to his training. What is the son's name?
Voss.
Voss. Donovan was the one who trained Voss. He remembers him in the very first session knocking an arrow for the first time without putting on the arm guard, and the string slapping against his wrist and him crying out in pain. And Donovan, about 20 years younger, just chuckles. Said, "Yep, I did that too. Now get up. You're going to do it again about, give or take, 1,000 more times. And his mind flashes to another time of them being in battle and him falling and the grief that overtook him. It wasn't as if he cried out, but he just remembers the tears falling down his face as his father held him dead in his grasp. And you see a shadow over Donovan's face, and you see the tears begin to fall. And we go back, and you see those same tears. And he loses the arrow.
And as the electricity kind of cackled in between his fingers, it suddenly stops, and the hand falls lifeless to the ground as the pool of blood begins to radiate outwards. And that is where we'll end our first session. Yay! Ended on a good note.
All right.
On a good note.
On a good note. Yeah, we gotta loot him.
Sebastian is alive. All notes are good.
Sebastian's alive. The prince is alive. All
Sure.
of us are alive.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Okay.
Wesley's done more damage in this session to me than Molly has.
Yeah, well, that's because you're like basically unhittable in Molly's campaign, though. Well, okay. Back to the forefront. Well, it was nice doing this again, guys. Thanks for letting me run it, and
Well,
let's hope.
Thanks for running it for us.
Let's hope that we continue to grow as players and as DMs. And with that, thank you, and good night.
Same time Thursday night.